Tell your friends you're listening to the Verhoeven Effect podcast. I'm Conlon.
And I'm Nathan.
We have another very special episode. We have the 2011 movie Fast Five. Nathan, do you have a history with Fast Five?
Yes, I watched it last night and earlier today.
Okay.
First of any of the Fast and the Furious movies or subsequent spin-offs thereof I have ever seen. There's no
Nathan,
real reason why, I just never have.
I mean, they're kind of dumb action movies, but
Yeah, it's not
I
really
feel
my.
like this is the best in the franchise. So,
Okay.
um,
Well, I
I
was
like,
entertained. I mean, I can tell you
okay.
that. Entertaining.
Because we did, I mean, we did Drive, which is another 2011 movie, and like I remember looking at 2011, it's like, man, that was a bad year for movies, and this was kind of like the other exceptional movies. So that's why I threw it in here. It's like, oh, that's good, we'll have fun. And then it was kind of an experiment to see like, would Nathan like it, or is he gonna miss all the nuance of Fast Five? I'm pretty sure there's moments you're like, does this mean something, or were you fine with did they deliver enough like backstory to you that you weren't confused with anything?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much knew that, like, oh, these are car driving men. One of them used to be a federal agent. Vin Diesel is some kind of tough guy with a code type
Yeah.
dude, and this guy's involved romantically with his sister, and so now they're on the same side of things for reasons I don't know. But then when the Rock, it later becomes enlisted in their struggle, and he too is a federal agent, and it's like, oh, okay, it seems to be a thing where we must unite to fight evil,
Yeah.
um
Yeah, I
so
think I
no,
told you. Well, yeah, I think I told you like kind of like the trick to the franchise is very Dragon Ball Z, or it's like the villain from the previous season becomes a part of the team in the next season. So,
yes, everyone set aside their differences and combining their strengths.
but this is probably like this might be the most unique blockbuster franchise to ever exist. Um, because I'll give you a bit of history. Well, again, this is the first movie came out 2001, so this is a 23-year-old franchise.
That's hard to believe.
um, there's 10 movies, one spin-off which became a mainstream part of the franchise. so, um, so yeah, in 2001 we had The Fast and the Furious, which was basically just seen as a rip off of uh, uh, what's Point Break.
Okay.
So you have a guy undercover instead of surfing, it's car racing,
Yeah.
and then at the end, the cop lets him go because like they're friends now, even though he's a bad guy. So that's the first movie. Um, there instead of like robbing banks, they are hijacking semis on the highway with like
Okay.
special street cars and stuff like that. Got harpoon guns on them and stuff.
Cool Road Warrior type stuff.
Yeah, yeah. But in L.A. with like Japanese, upscale cars or
Yeah,
upgraded
what I
cars.
call single use tuner cars. It's like, yeah, car's incredibly fast, but the engine just burns out. It's
And then and there's something you might have instantly seen was the drag race at the end of the movie where Brian and Dom drag race, and Dom has I think it's his dad's 70s Charger, which is a thing that constantly is broken and comes back throughout the franchise.
yeah, this is like the pursuit special in Mad Max.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
always there and always destroyed.
Because like they have like a drag race and like they jump over like train tracks as a train's coming across, and like they hit the arms that come down just as like the train passes them, and then like Dom wins the race with the Charger, but then like cross traffic comes in and it gets flipped and flips upside down, so the car wrecks, and then Brian gives him his car and tells him to run away, and that's the whole like with Brody and Point Break shooting into the air and letting him get away. So it's just that scene. um, so yeah, that was a really successful
That's
movie.
fireworks.
um, So that was a really successful movie. That was mostly a lot of like, not yeah, basically no name people. Like people kind of knew who Vin Diesel was at that time, but that made him a star. You know, it was like $100 million at the box office or whatever, and it was fairly inexpensive to make. It was also like a Rob Cohen joint, which he went on to like do a bunch of like revolutionary films. Not
Oh,
like,
okay.
not like Revolution or no, the film company was called Revolution. That's it. The best thing they made was Black Hawk Down. They also made like that Jet Li the One movie. They made like Stealth.
Okay.
They made the Triple X franchise with Vin Diesel.
Oh,
um,
that's right. I forgot about Triple X.
it's very adjacent to this franchise. So, anyways, they have Too Fast, Too Furious, not TOO. It's the T. It's the two, the number two. I about said the letter two, but that just has Paul Walker in it, and then we bring in the Tyrese Gibson character and the Ludacris character, and that's kind of like its own thing. It's kind of seen as the worst in the franchise, and it's not very good, but it still has like cool action scenes. Um, um, and then basically at that point, it seemed like the franchise was dead. And then we have Justin Lin, who makes a movie called like Better Luck Tomorrow, which is about like kind of like bored smart Asian kids who are like not rich, but they're not poor. So they do a lot of like clever petty crime to get everything they want. And that was kind of like a low budget independent movie that kind of was like a minor hit. And I think he did an Annapolis movie, which I don't know was good. And then he got a chance to do Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, which has nothing from any of the series. It's its own thing, basically. And then it was a modestly budgeted movie, and then it was a fairly big hit. And so now it's like, all right, Justin Lin, you're in charge of the Fast and Furious franchise. Because also at the very end of that movie, Vin Diesel makes a cameo.
Oh, okay.
Which I believe he was paid for with the rights to the Riddick franchise to do that cameo.
All right. See, there's a reason I will forgive almost any movie scene or any movie sin that Vin Diesel commits is because of the Riddick movies.
Yeah.
Those are so cool to me. It's like, yeah, okay, everything else is kind of weird, but I'll forgive him that because he brought Riddick to life.
Yeah. So then they come out with, I think 2 years later, they have the next in the Fast and Furious franchise, just called Fast and Furious. No thes. That's the fourth movie. The naming of this franchise is insane. No consistency.
They seem to like spin a wheel around and throw darts. And it's like, yeah, this is what it is this time.
Fast and Furious has a really cool opening scene. I don't think it's a great movie. Has a incredibly great tagline, which is because they bring back most of the original cast to that movie. They got Vin Diesel and they got Paul Walker. They got everybody. And the tagline to it is new model, original parts.
Okay.
That's the one where Letty dies, which is important if you wonder why Vin Diesel is sad all the time in this movie. It's because Michelle Rodriguez was Letty in the first Fast and Furious movie, and then she is killed in Fast and Furious. And then you have that movie, and then we get to what you see, like the end of that movie is the beginning of this movie, where it's like, because it's something with drug smuggling, and they have like giant caves underneath the border, and they have to do a race in a possibly giant cave system underneath the border. And then Dominic was ended up trying to do his best to solve Letty's crime, but also inadvertently help the government, because in Too Fast, Too Furious, the Brian character is no longer a police officer, and he's kind of disgraced. But then in Fast and Furious, he kind of, because he worked with the DEA in that movie, he's now an FBI agent in Fast and and Furious, and then then because the court ends up wronging Dominic when he should have been, he helped the government. They should have been more lenient on him, and they just like threw the book at him. So they're like, all right, we're gonna bust him out of jail. And so that's how where Fast Five begins. So
Okay.
Yeah, and then they bring The Rock into this one. And you got the next one is Fast and Furious 6, and then you have Furious 7. You have Fate of the Furious, which they put on the poster. They have the F and the 8 next to each other, so Fate.
Okay.
Then you have, is it just Fast 9? I can't remember. And then you have Fast X.
9 is how it comes up.
Okay. And then there's Fast X or Fast 10 or whatever. I'm not sure what it would be Fast 10, but and then which is the one I haven't seen, which I started watching after I finished watching this, and actually Fast 5 and Fast 10 are like directly related because the bad guy in Fast 10 is the unseen son in this movie.
Okay.
They cleverly they bring back the heist scene in this movie and cleverly reinsert the bad guy for the new movie with scenes from this movie. It's like, okay, that's all plausible. So, but it's pretty bad. So, well, there's still fun scenes, but there's like, it's like every scene there's a punchline and everyone's got to be like jokey, and it comes off very weird. It seems like it's too cynical on itself. And Jason Momoa, who plays the bad guy, is actually like really fun. He's like actually kind of like this fun, crazy guy, almost Joker-like character, like Heath Ledger Joker-like character. He's really good in it, but the movie doesn't. Even though he's good in it, the movie, it's like his performance doesn't help the movie, even though it's good and fun. It's weird. It's very weird. So, and they're supposed to do one more. There's supposed to be one more movie to come out that to finish.
Oh, and then they're going to call it?
Yeah.
Huh, okay.
Because also like Justin Lin, he did like the next 2 movies, and then he went off and did like Star Trek Beyond and some other stuff, and then he came back to do 9, and then he, in the middle starting to do 10, he quit. But he didn't just like leave. He cited artistic differences, which is a legal term that allows you to quit doing a movie.
Yeah, that doesn't really mean anything. It just means I want out. I don't get along. So
yeah, but you're not like, if you just leave the set and it's like, I'm not going to do it now, hire somebody else, then you're like liable for the like the whole production cost. But if you leave due to creative differences, and I don't know what like meets the criteria for that, then you are like, you get to keep your money and we'll hire somebody else. We've all agreed to this. Which I hear the rumors is, and it's all like Vin Diesel related. So I don't know, because like the rumors around everything around Vin Diesel and everything just makes him seem like the modern day Marlon Brando, where he just like has no sense of self and like is kind of crazy. But
that wouldn't surprise me.
Is like Justin Lin had it in his contract that Vin Diesel couldn't show up on set and demand changes.
Okay.
Because apparently he just hated doing that shit. It's like, we have a plan, let's do the plan, and then Vin Diesel shows up and is like, nah. So he says he puts it in his contract, if Vin Diesel does this, I'm walking off the fucking movie. And so Vin Diesel does that on like day 2, and he walks off the movie.
Yeah, it would be a nightmare just to have to do that all the time.
And also interesting, I think yes, Furious 7, which that's the one where they finished main production, but during reshoots, Paul Walker had died, and so there's actually like little interesting kind of vignettes of how they had to they made new footage with like Paul Walker's brothers. Like one sounds like him, the other one looks kind of like him, and then with CGI they put him in the movie.
Yeah, I remember they used his brothers. Yeah, I knew there was something, which would be super sad.
Yeah.
Like, come here and help me finish this film that your brother made, who died very young in a horrible car accident that was
Yeah.
completely unrelated to the movies, just
Yeah. No.
driving it.
um. Yeah, and like and it's like and like one of the shots in that movie might be like, and it's one of the CGI shots. It's CGI Paul Walker. It might be like part of the most famous shots in cinema. Mostly because it's a lot of it's a memes. It's the part where like they're doing the drag race, or not really. They're kind of driving together, and then the road forks off, and Brian drives off on the on ramp, and then or the off
Yes.
ramp, and then that's his departure from the film franchise. Because they don't kill off his character. They basically just say, we're going to let one of the crew get out of this life. And that was Brian. So it's only assumed in every other movie that Brian is just having a good time and not have to deal with all the crap that these guys are dealing with.
Yeah.
Which is better than just killing him off, I guess.
Yeah. It's a way to send him off. The only other thing I heard, and I don't know if this was kayfabe or if it was true, that Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson actually hate each other.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Is that true?
Well, I mean,
they just like each other?
I mean, again, this is all rumor, and it's so petty that it's like, is that
Well,
the reason why?
Well, I remember on Twitter, like Dwayne Johnson, he's always like this professional, like, I'm excited about whatever movie I'm making and I'm here to do the best I can because you're paying me. Went on Twitter and was like, I hate Vin Diesel, like just openly said it. And I was like, okay, is this real or is this like their movie characters that they play don't like each other, so this is some kind of wrestling thing? I didn't know.
It would make sense for this movie, but like that kind of like hatred continues for like when he exists, and that's why they made the spin-off Hobbs and Shaw movie to basically like get The Rock out of the franchise but keep him in the franchise. And I think it was something that was another like petty thing that I'm not sure what it is, but like I guess Vin Diesel demands like he's got to be the strongest person in every Fast and Furious movie.
Okay.
So like it's like if him and The Rock are like having a fist fight, they have be of equal strength, and The Rock is he's a boisterous huge man. It's like, no, I'd beat the shit out of him. Like we're not of equal strength, but like, and then because he's always in shape and like crazy muscles and all that stuff, and then like Vin Diesel kind of like he loses shape and gets into shape for movies, and so The Rock was teasing him about that, and like it's like, hey, you're pudgy on set today, like what's going on? And so I guess he would tease Vin Diesel about that, and Vin Diesel really hated that.
Yeah,
so,
he doesn't seem like a guy with a sense of humor about things.
yeah.
Or he's really cool and he just like we don't know anything about him.
Yeah.
I don't. Like I said, the Riddick Chronicles I'll forgive a lot of whatever because it's like, yeah, I don't. He allowed that to happen, and he's even partially involved in the creative force of it. Yeah. And he's a big fan of like fantasy stuff too. Like,
there's definitely qualities to Vin Diesel, but there's also a lot of weird bullshit that goes along with him. So
yeah.
He's like a director too. He's directed like 4 movies. You figured he'd like like understand the plight of actors and directors, but it seems like he's just lost in his own world sometimes. But he's also just like involved in a lot of like weird sci-fi movies that just like disappear. It's like, were they not good?
That's what I like about him. It's like because he did like Babylon AD, which like looked really cool until you got about a third of the way into it, and you're like, oh wait a minute. This is dumb. Wow, this looks great. Some of these ideas are amazing.
Yeah.
And, like I said, and not all the Riddick stuff was to everyone's taste, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it was still, it was pretty cool. I forgot about Triple X, and the Boiler Room was pretty good.
Yeah.
That was, I guess, way back. It was like 24 years ago.
But yeah, Furious 7 was also they brought in the other like blockbuster Asian director for that one. They got James Wan, who did like the Saw series and The Conjuring. So he comes in and does one. He's Australian, but
and the Bloodshot, that was a weird one.
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting idea. But yeah, I remember Babylon AD being like, God, this is some really cool ideas. It's too bad they couldn't make this gel in any particular way.
And he was the voice of Iron Giant and also,
Groot.
Groot.
Yeah.
So, yeah. There's always something about Vin Diesel, and there's also always something about Vin Diesel, good and bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like an inexplicable franchise that seemed to like unintentionally just came into being like now it's a blockbuster franchise, and like what do we do with it now? It's not just it can't just be a car movie now. It has to be like a Mission Impossible movie with so that's what the team turns into, basically like special forces people that don't use guns, they just use cars for everything.
Yeah. And people rarely get killed except the bad guys.
Yeah.
I love all the insane like driving tricks that it's like only bad people are going to get hurt and killed in this. That's amazing. That's actually a skill in and of itself beyond what you're doing. Is like, huh.
But I mean, the thing that was always like set up for them is like they're criminals, so they think like criminals, so they have like different methods that are like unusual that we wouldn't think of, so that's why we need to get them. And they're always being wanted by the world, and then they do something good, and then like, okay, it's all forgiven now. Like they eventually just are working for the CIA at one point, and like Kurt Russell is like commanding them around, which he kind of like disappears from the franchise. It's like, is he dead or not? They kind of bring in Scott Eastwood as sort of the Brian replacement, but Scott Eastwood did his disappearing act of like, who's that guy? And then he comes in and says lines and like that aren't convincing. You don't remember who the guy is, and then he disappears.
Yeah, it doesn't have that leading man vibe yet.
Oh no, but he gets like third billing in every movie he does. So, I guess there's like smaller movies where he like plays a soldier or a cowboy that he's like more respectable in, but any of the big franchise stuff I've seen him in, he just always like he's nothing in every one of them. So, but this is the third. Technically the timeline for this is in Tokyo Drift. Han is killed in Tokyo Drift, and so he's alive here. It's like, hey, what's going on? And so it's like technically Tokyo Drift in the franchise at this time is the furthest in the future. We're coming to it.
Oh, weird. Okay. Huh. Because I remember that started a whole genre of people interested in that kind of racing.
Yeah,
like it became more mainstream. It was known, but now it's like a thing. Like there's people that just design cars to drift.
Yeah. And they had stuff before that, like the Initial D franchise, which is a big comic and anime series, that was all it was about. And so they just brought that. Hey, let's just Americanize it, but then go to Tokyo to do it. So, but yeah, Han ends up being like the linchpin of the franchise. He like kind of like holds everything together because he's the only one in Tokyo Drift of the original movie, but he wasn't in 2. So there's like, everything just hops around.
Yeah, this franchise is starting to develop a Doctor Who continuity.
But that's also, it's like it's a multi-million-dollar franchise. Oh, it's probably made billions of dollars. So, and it like its cast is largely not white, so that's interesting. But it's also like it's not. But like almost every movie is different, and again, like the naming convention is like different every time. So the fact that people like bothered to care about this to like, oh, what's that movie? Is that in the franchise? Because like half these movies just seem like it would be like some letterbox straight to video. It's like, are they trying to cash in on the name like list, or is this a part of the franchise?
Yeah.
It's like, nope, it's part of the franchise. Yeah, this came out April 29th, 2011. I feel like this is big when they started doing like, the April, May, like, we're we're not just bringing out the big blockbusters in June and July anymore. We're like they're coming out in May and April now. So
Okay. Yeah.
director's Justin Lin, who mostly did Fast and Furious stuff. He did Star Trek Beyond, which I appreciate, but it's it's a weird note to leave that series on though. So,
Which one was that again?
That was the third Star Trek movie with the new crew. It was
Oh,
the Into Darkness one.
oh, was that the one with the guy, the guy who played the detective in the UK, the British actor?
Yeah, Idris Elba's in it.
Yeah, that's when the Elba was in, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Although he only kind of like shows up at the end because he's like hidden or whatever throughout most of it. And then it was like, who's that guy? Who's Shaun of the Dead guy? He wrote that.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. He's in Mission Impossible all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say Scott, but I know that's wrong.
Simon
Trek. Pegg.
Simon Pegg.
Yeah, I think it was Simon Pegg that wrote that. But that was like kind of like seemed like we're going to do a smaller movie, and so it was all right, but it kind of seemed to be the death of that franchise. Which the first one's really great, and then Into Darkness is interesting, but kind of bad at the same time. So
yeah, it doesn't hold. Again, it's one of those things that doesn't hold together like you want it to. It's like because The Wrath of Khan was actually a movie, and it's like, well, this is cool, but no.
He's still a producer on the Fast and Furious franchise, but he's like, yeah, I'm not directing Vin Diesel ever again. So
yeah, no, I've been Vin Dieseled out.
And I'm not sure what he's doing now. He's done some TV. He's like an executive producer on some TV shows too. So he's got the Warrior series. I hear that's good. I've never seen it. And then Magnum PI and SWAT. So but yeah, he's a good director. So, and he saved this franchise. There's a reason why this franchise like continues to exist. Because it wasn't like Rob Cohen like hung around and brought this franchise back from the grave.
He did. Justin Lin did some directing on True Detective too.
Yeah, I think that was that season 2?
Yeah, season 2.
Yeah, because I think one guy directed every episode on the first season.
Yeah.
Written by Chris Morgan, who did like some movie called Cellular, which had like Kim Basinger and Jason Statham in it. I've never seen it, but it seemed like a thriller movie.
One. Yeah, I can't remember it, but yeah.
And then then he basically wrote this movie, and then he's basically written kind of almost all the Fast and Furious franchise, and he's done one of the Shazam movies.
Okay.
So he's all he's fine. I don't know. I wouldn't really say the strength of the Fast and Furious franchise is its writing, but
yeah, it's not
someone
real.
has to concoct those action scenes. So yeah. Cinematographer is Stephen F. Winden, who's like an Australian cinematographer who does a lot of a lot of movies. I did most of the he's done a lot of stuff the last 3 movies he's done I would say don't look good, and I don't like the look of them. And it's like, oh, I wonder why that is. It's like, well, he's the common denominator, so maybe I don't like his
Oh no, he's the cinematographer on The Electric State too.
Oh, well, I was gonna say the first one you'd recognize is he did The Postman.
That actually looked pretty good.
Oh, it did? Okay. We'll probably get to that movie
Story
at some
was
point.
terrible, but it looked great.
Yeah, because I remember, I remember you want us to do that movie because I'm not sure if you want us to do this movie. You bring it up a lot because it seems to be like one of your most disappointing movies you've ever seen.
Oh my God, it had an awesome book, and it's like, how do you fuck this up? I mean, nowadays I could take this and probably like just do read overs and just like, cause I'm sure I could buy the rights to the movie for like $15 and it's like just read over just do a read over and like edit out all the dialogue and it would be more coherent and fun to watch.
Yeah.
Because like the David Brin book was amazing. It's like, how did you screw that up? It's literally like people like freak out about, oh, Lord of the Rings was so awesome. It's like, well, have you read the books? How do you screw that up? I mean, the answer is you don't. Or like even No Country for Old Men, which I love the way it was visualized, but it's like, yeah, you came in strong. You had a strong right coming into that fight just with the book alone. But yeah, why they did the things they did with the Postman is inexplicably weird.
We did the Postman. They did Firestorm, which that's the Huey Long football player. We're gonna make him an action actor movie.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
He did the Patriot, which is another Steven Seagal movie. Which...
Say, wait a minute, no, we're not talking about the Patriot with Mel Gibson. We're talking the other Patriot. Okay.
He did Deep Blue Sea, which I'm not sure if that was a good-looking movie. It's kind of an infamous movie that's like not good, but has memorable moments.
Well, it's the one where like what's his name?
Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel Jackson is like, you can kill me, but I'm gonna give a great motherfucking speech. You know, it's whatever. It's like, yeah, take me out. It's like why he did Snakes on the Plane. It's like, I just want to say that line.
Yeah.
And it's like, then you can kill me. It doesn't matter. It's like, that's interesting.
Yeah, then he does Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. There's then stuff in between, but that's stuff we'd recognize. And he's kind of on the Fast and Furious franchise from then on.
And then Sonic the Hedgehog.
Which I hear it's good. I didn't bother to see it.
I heard it's not terrible.
But the last three here, we got F9, The Fast Saga.
Yeah.
That's the one where they bring in, hey, John Cena has a long-lost half-brother. Or, no, sorry, Vin Diesel has a long-lost half-brother who's John Cena. And that's basically like, we kicked The Rock out of the franchise. You know what pissed The Rock off? If we replaced him with John Cena.
Yeah.
He did the Gray Man.
That'll warp your mind. Watch John Cena do commercials in Chinese.
Oh yeah,
he speaks Chinese, and he'll be there like
he bothered to learn Chinese. Yeah,
that's why. Well, he knows where his money's coming from, so it's like it makes smart guy. I mean,
yeah,
that's really wild to see John Cena. Because see, I will always think of John Cena now in terms of like Peacekeeper.
Yeah.
Anything else he does, it's like, oh, okay, but this is always the guy for me. But yeah, when he does stuff like that, it's like, oh wow, that's like just I'm having an out of body experience right now watching him do this.
Well, because it's like the effort it takes to do that, and it's like, God,
yeah, it's insane.
Like he's in shape, he's working all the time, and
he's exercising 20 hours a day, and let's learn Mandarin Chinese while we're at it. It's like, is that like anything close to the language you speak? Oh, no, not at all. It's like people came from another planet and created a language. Yeah. Like, oh, cool. Let's learn that.
But he's also the kind of person that can hire like a trainer and then like he can basically like, pump weights and have like, his trainer there. It's like, all right, now let's speak Mandarin.
Doing a speed bag. And it's like, how do I say I like this orange, And he's like, yeah, he can divide his time, I'm sure.
After F9, Stephen F. Winden shoots The Gray Man, which is like has good performances, some good action movies, but I hate the way that looks. I do not like that movie.
No, it's not good.
And then he did Fast X, which I just watched. I was about 30 minutes from finishing it today, and I do not like the way it looks. Like it's got fine action scenes, but so did The Gray Man. I don't really appreciate this cinematographer at the moment. So, but I don't know for how big these productions are. Maybe like he's just great at organizing things, and he just does the best with what he can. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, these movies have giant budgets. So
cast
one of them $1 billion.
Oh yeah.
And I think it was the one F. Gary Gray directed.
Okay, that'd been
Fate of the Furious. Or 9.
Yeah, Fate of the Furious. No, yeah, you're right. Fate of the Furious. Yeah.
One of them made $1 billion. I think that was a successful one.
Okay. Oh yeah, I know. Furious 7 made a lot of money because it's kind of like that. People are kind of like, I don't know, giving respect to Paul Walker, but yeah, that was a big movie. So because like I think Fast Five is the best one, and I do think they continually get worse. Not necessarily in terms of like quality. They just have like they actually get bigger in production wise. They just kind of it gets dumber as it goes on, and some of
Yeah,
it
there's
gets
just what's
tired.
that saying? Jumping the shark.
Yeah, yeah,
It's just continuously like because don't get me wrong, I was my assessment of this movie early and in the wrap up when we talk about it, I was entertained.
okay.
This was like a good one of the good Transformers movies with cars that didn't turn into robots. It was like I was in the same mental space watching this movie as watching a Transformer. I was ready for Optimus Prime to be like, roll out. But I said, oh, wait, no, I'm not watching that movie. I'm watching this movie. So,
Now I feel like the earlier parts in the franchise they have car guy stuff and they get a lot of it wrong. So were you more impressed by the car guy stuff in here, or were you pissed off by some of it, or are you like
it
was he?
was these are yeah, car guy stuff to me is like I can make it to work. That's the
Yeah,
limit of my car guy. I'm not a professional race car driver.
yeah,
um I'm not someone who's ever had vehicles that were super performance vehicles. I'm not trained to drive them. But like, yeah, I do like some of the stuff they do in this movie, but these are all what I call, because I do know enough to know it's like these are one use vehicles.
yeah,
It's like cool to build a car. And I don't mean like the ones with the infinitely durable suspensions. That's just movie shit. I know that's
yeah.
not real. But as fast as they're driving these cars and as hard as they're pushing them, it's like that engine and transmission are just going to grenade. Once you shut the engine off, that car, put it in the crusher, it's done. I do know that much about how cars work because they're essentially building race cars, which don't last more than one race typically before they're
Yeah.
torn down and redone. And it's like, yeah, that this is cool. But I'm also impressed with the guy who's like, I can repair my water pump and be to work in the same day. That's the kind of car guy I am. So this stuff always looks cool and fanciful, but almost in like a science fiction way.
Okay.
It's like I like robots at work that can do pick and place very fast. It's like that's really cool to watch a robot work like that because that's a real robot doing real robot things. It has very hard lines that it can't cross and that can't do multiple things. And then like showing me the movie Terminator, like that too is a robot. However, it is something completely different, other than the fact it uses hydraulics and gears to run and a processor. It's like, yeah, it's not the same thing.
Well, I just
So,
felt,
but
well, I felt like that some of the criticism of the earlier films is that like it just seems like every car has 18 gears. It's like
yeah,
there's always an extra gear to go faster. And it's like that's not how that works. And NOS
no.
is always a magical thing, and it's like that's not how that works. I didn't know if there was like that's not how it works stuff in here, or if you just went along with it.
Oh, I just went with it, but yeah, definitely not how it works.
Okay.
Definitely drive lines in sports cars do not tow multi-ton safes along flat road surfaces. If you had
Well, that,
two,
that by that time, it's like I'll allow any magical thing at
oh, if
this
these
point.
cars with like wings came out the side and it became a James Bond thing, I'd be like, yeah, cool. Okay. It would
Okay.
be better if they had like semi trucks doing that because that would at
Yeah.
least be possible. But they couldn't do it at 100 miles an hour. They could do it
Yeah.
about 50. And they need a lot of road. It's like, okay, don't bring the police cars out yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like now we switch to high range. Now we do have 16 gears. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, change the ratio of the axle in the back. Okay, now we're doing 30. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And all the money in the safe is burning because there's so much friction. It's just heated the box. But no,
Okay.
yeah.
Cast is Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, and Dwayne Johnson, or Dwayne the Rock Johnson. He's trying to get that over now. He's just being Dwayne. Because like after this movie, well, he did that GI Joe movie, so he's kind of like a for hire guy at this point. The Rundown was like fairly successful, but I feel like after this movie, he started doing like 3 movies a year, and they're all of like average quality.
Yeah. He's a guy. He's having fun. He looks cool. He gets up and works out at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
and talks to other supposed tough guys. It's like, hey, why aren't you out here with me?
Yeah.
What are you doing? You're a weakling, So I appreciate that whole motif. He seems he seems like a genuinely fun person. Like if you
Yeah.
met The Rock, it'd be like, cool. It's well now it's just Dwayne, but it's cool to meet because he's like 6'5" and he can bench press a Chevy. So yeah, he seems like a cool guy. Don't know anything about him, but I
Yeah.
always, whenever he's in a movie, he's got that grin and that wild look in his eyes. It's like, well, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's like a Bruce Willis movie. It's like most of them are bad, but you kind of like Bruce Willis in most of the movies
Yeah.
he's in.
Yeah, I enjoy his presence.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not going to do like he's not going to do a Schindler's List. He doesn't have
No.
that in him.
Well,
I
mean, like, we did Southland Tales, and we're kind of like, I was at least caught off guard by like, oh, he can like make acting choices, and then he just stopped doing that and went with the money. So,
yeah,
I'm just gonna be me. It seems like people appreciate that more than me like trying.
well, I think what he did in Southland Tales, what I liked, what he did was he took this character that he has created, this persona, and it's like, what if he was depraved and damaged mentally from something that happened to him? And it's like, and that was his character throughout the whole movie. It's like, it's still Dwayne Johnson, but it's like, oh yeah, he's like, he was mentally split somehow through some means, and now he's just going crazy.
Yeah.
But at the end of the movie, it's like, I'm a pimp and pimps don't commit suicide. It's just like, oh, okay, that's just him. But it's like, oh, what if I was a damaged human being instead of this guy who's in charge all the time? So it was fun. Yeah, I wish he would do more Southland Tales.
Yeah.
I wish we got a better Southland Tales. Southland Tales America deserves, but we'll never get. Alas.
So we have Act 1. We get Dominic Toretto, Vin Diesel, gets sentenced to prison from the previous movie. As the bus is driving him to prison, Brian O'Connor, played by Paul Walker, and Mia, played by Jordana Brewster, who's kind of like, it's like her and Jessica Alba were kind of like, here's some young, hot Hispanic lady, and we're going to put them in everything. And they're kind of like, they're very pretty, they're okay actors.
Yeah.
So that's all you can ask. But I really like Mia in this franchise. Like, I don't know if I haven't seen too much of other Jordana Brewster's other stuff. It's kind of seems like low key. Apparently, she did like 150 episodes as like a kid in like one of the soap operas. So.
Well, she's from Panama.
Okay.
And she went to Yale.
Huh. Okay. Didn't Jessica Alba do that too? Did she go to like some high end college? Like she quit acting and like had a kid and then like went to like Harvard or something like that? I can't remember. I might be thinking of somebody else, but
there's a few people that have done things like that.
Yeah.
Let me look it up. Jessica Alba is from Pomona,
okay,
California, and she did a lot of rom-coms, and she did the Spy Kids movies. And no, she just does like charity and activism type stuff.
Okay, all right.
She said nothing here about going to going to fancy schools, getting a lot of credentials, and
yeah, maybe.
Who did do that? The lady from who was in Annihilation, didn't she do that? Natalie Portman.
Yeah, Natalie Portman. Yeah, she went to like Harvard.
She's like got a big brain or something. Yeah. Big brain on Natalie Portman, everyone.
They pull up in their street cars. They break Dominic out of prison, which I think somebody has like a what's that called? Like the Nissan GTR, which is like a $250,000 car that's like only a racing vehicle. They really did. It's like a legendary car that's like most of the versions never came out in America, and most of them are just like made just for racing and not for like street legal stuff.
It's listed here as an Acura NSX.
Oh, okay.
But also all the other things you said, because it's badged as a Honda, but I think it was sold in America under the Acura brand name.
Okay. Well, I know there's like there's a Nissan GTR. They pop up throughout the franchise. I only like those cars because of racing games, and then you try to like, that's a car I'd like to have, and then you try to look into it, and you're like, oh, that's not a car you can attain.
Yeah.
Like it'd be easier to buy a Ferrari than getting that thing. um,
Yeah, it's like a Nissan Skyline GTX or something.
yeah,
Those are cool. It's like, well, they're not legal to own in America
yeah.
because that's terrible. Why is that? Because it's so dangerous and powerful or whatever. It's like, no, the Japanese just don't want to import it here. It's like, oh, okay.
They just don't want, because it would cost too much or something like that, or
Well, they just don't want it here. That's their thing.
Yeah.
So they'll do one thing to make sure you can't. You'd have to like. I mean, you can import them if you can find them.
Yeah, no, people importing them, but then it's like, you got a right-hand drive GTR, which I've seen those. Which I forget there's a bunch of like cool tech stuff on that car, but I think it's like at high speed, like all the wheels steer, like it has some weird thing like that. Like high speed all wheel steer.
That would not surprise me.
I also think it had something. There's something crazy about that era of those cars, like the late '90s, mid 2000s, like Japanese performance cars, where they all agreed there's like some horsepower that like there was like a gentleman's agreement, like we're not going to have a horsepower war, so like everybody gets 250 horsepower or whatever is a reasonable for a performance car. I don't know, and then they just found a way to like lie their way around that or do some other like crazy tech that like, well, yeah, it doesn't have the horsepower, but now it can take a corner at 70 miles an hour. Take a right-hand corner at 70 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's
and then like so like crazy specific cars like that will just appear in the Fast and Furious franchise for 5 minutes, and they're like, wait, no, like there's no way they would just have that car, like somebody would be looking for that. There's no way they had that like in a garage somewhere. They had to steal that. And it's like,
yeah, we're going to use a Konigsberg for a heist. It's like, well, they only made 10 of those. It's like, well, we're going to use the 9th one. It's like, no, that's like a real hell.
But in this franchise, it's like, that's cool. I don't care.
Yeah.
But Brian is driving the iconic Charger with the blower on it, and he tips over the bus with the Charger. So.
Yeah, you can do that with Chargers from the 70s. A lot of people don't know that. They have the bus tip feature because it 60 tons of steel will just immediately deflect off of a 3,000-pound car.
I mean, that Charger is probably lighter than a modern Charger because it's like, it's hollow. There's no safety in the
no, there's nothing to it. It's just a box on wheels.
Which, like, I forget, like, there's some curse to that Charger throughout the franchise. I think it was his dad's, which they do reveal, like, his dad died in racing in one of them. And it's like, oh, did he die in the Charger? And I think it's no. He, like, died in a NASCAR, like a regional NASCAR race or something like that. Yeah. Or like a lower formula NASCAR race.
Right above racing, but like kind of the NASCAR B League,
yeah. So they tip over the bus, which I think they also do this in, was it another 48 hours? Don't they do that? Don't they roll a bus over in that? Okay,
yeah. These MCI transport buses get the hell beat out of them. I think an earlier version of this was used in a Clint Eastwood movie called The Gauntlet.
Okay, yeah.
They just shoot the hell out of this bus as it's driving through this police blockade over and over and over. It's not the same model, but it's the same manufacturer.
Okay, so is the Gauntlet separate from the Dirty Harry franchise, or am I thinking of the Dirty Harry Deadpool? Does that have a bus in it, or is that just the Gauntlet?
I'm thinking of the Gauntlet from the 70s. It's separate from Dirty. Okay, it was its own thing. It's a cool movie. It's a ridiculous movie. It's like these guys are terrible shots. It's shoot the tiger. What are we doing?
So we get new footage of like, they just like somebody going to federal prison just got like busted out by car, and it was like one of them was a federal agent that busted him out. So this is worldwide news. We get Purd showing up, which I only mention that because there's you heard with Purd in the no, I'm forgetting the franchise, the Community TV show.
Okay.
He's like a news reporter in the Community show. And so I was just like I was like, oh, he shows up here. He's just another, but he's not necessarily supposed to be like Purred from the Community franchise, but that's why I know him as. He shows up a lot in other movies. It's just like a news guy. like,
Huh.
like it's something he constantly he's just a comedic actor, so but he gets hired for a lot of like news footage stuff. So yeah, now they're all wanted for criminal activity. So we cut to Rio de Janeiro, where we have the obligatory shot of Christ the Redeemer because you have to do that. So
That's how you establish where you are. It's a cool
yeah.
statue. I like the dark universe of that, where it's the same picture, but Jesus has an Uzi in each hand, and it says Christ. It's like the mirror universe of Brazil. It's a vengeful, angry Christ with a couple of Uzis.
The NRA Christ.
Yeah.
I forget. I think one of the James Bond movies we covered had like Rio de Janeiro, and then we figure out that like that statue's like actually like really far away from like anywhere you'd actually be in the city.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's funny that
I think it was in Moonraker. I think they did shot on that. Yeah.
But you know,
nobody would be hanging out there. It's like on top of a mountain.
But you know, if you're going to have a establishing shot of the city, that's the one you have to do. But
well, that's how most Americans would know, because I know nothing about Brazil. Yeah, I think I figured out 5 years ago that they speak Portuguese. Like that's it's like, oh, they don't speak Spanish. Weird. Okay, cool. Didn't know that. And I think it's probably as multi-ethnic as America. Like they have a huge diverse group of people there, but they're all like consider themselves Brazilian. Yeah. So it's like not one of those. It's another colony country that's not just like a monoculture, where it's just one group of people.
Well, like they're progressive in some ways, and then they find weird ways to be racist in other ways. It's like, well, we have to divide ourselves.
I know. What have I heard? I know that superstition and like belief in UFOs is a big thing there. Huh. Because they're very Catholic and they believe any UFO shit you tell them. Huh. Because they have a long history. There's a book I read and that I was recommended on a podcast I was listening to about UFO stories of Brazil. Man, it's wild. It's weirder than anything we have here. It's like the stuff that they say has gone on, and half of it's fiction, but it's like, oh wow, they really. But yeah, you see anything in the sky, man, you got a bunch of Brazilians out there with guns around, telescopes. They're ready for it, whatever's coming.
So is it like one of those simultaneous things where like they have their own version, we have our own version? They're basically kind of the same thing, but like have been conceived in completely different areas at the same time? Or
no, there is something about Central and South America where it's like we have a UFO culture here, but they have a UFO culture that kind of intersects with religion in a way that it doesn't here. Okay. So it takes on a whole new meaning. Like people will do weird things like, oh, we were told by an alien to show up here and wear lead masks, and they find these guys dead. And they left all these instructions, and because they took a bunch of pills and died, but they were wearing lead masks. So I think it was called the lead mask of Venta or something. It happened. I think it was in Brazil. But it's such a weird story. Like these people get so wrapped up into this, they showed up, and of course all the cops are showing up, and they're just finding books of stuff written down, and these men wearing homemade lead masks, like we're here to go away with the aliens. And it's like, what the hell is this? But it's this elaborate backstory with like stacks of, like you remember the movie Seven where he had all the composition books pulled up? Okay, it was stuff like that. These guys were just showing up, and there's lots of stuff like that that's happened there. So it's individual.
Like our UFO stuff seems to be kind of like government related and hiding other alien cultures. Yes. Is this like more Evangelion in Central America? Okay. Yes.
There's a lot more. There is a government, but their government isn't like because we see our government as like a monolith. It's like the United States government. Yeah. It's basically been winning the Super Bowl since the end of World War II. So it's like a monolith. Like there, it's more like, oh, the government's here, but they're kind of incompetent. But, Space Jesus and everything else, we're going to just blend this all together. And it's also going to involve a lot of sex because, of course, and But I'm speaking pejoratively of all Central and South American UFO culture. It's wild. And a lot of it's being translated into English. And the more I read, the more I'm appreciating. It's like this is weird in a cool way. It's definitely
it's
more
like the 90s again.
Yeah, people are more passionate about it than they ever were here. Here, it's always like it's the government, and it's secret. Where there, it's like it could be that, but it could also be God, or your neighbors, or people trying to screw you out of an inheritance, or that lady you want to sleep with, and then we're gonna crazy stuff because the space people told me so. But yeah, they're really into it down there in a serious way. Like doctors, lawyers, people that are just completely normal in every other aspect of their life. You say UFO, they're like, tell me more. I want to know. Let's go find out about it. And it's like, you're the president of Brazil. What are you talking about? It's like, no, this shit's real. Let's get out there. Like, awesome.
See, I don't know if
but
this
these
is
are also countries that go into like currency free fall and collapse every 15 years too. So there's a dark side to all this UFO fun.
I don't know if this is stock footage. They probably got their own shot for this, but it's always the same shot of Christ the Redeemer, where it's like the helicopter shot circling around Christ the Redeemer. So
yes. And then there'll be some like metal drum music playing in the background and a bunch of sweaty, hot people. And it's like, oh, we're in Brazil. We're in Rio de Janeiro.
Cut to the favelas because that's the other landmark thing of it. So.
Yeah. They have weird trailer parks down there. It's like, it's essentially the same thing, just built into a mountain. And it's not a prefabricated structure. They're building that out of shipping containers. So, and it's hotter than hell down there too. It's like, wow.
We get Mia and Brian drive around in a kind of understated car for them. Do you know what car he has here? It's kind of a neat car. I don't know if it's like some kind of like souped up.
It is a Skyline from the 70s.
Okay, all right, that makes sense then.
Let me find. I've got of course, I had to bring up the car database. And of course, it's like 16 pages of entries.
Well, it's a small car, but it kind of has lines of a sports car, so that makes sense. Like it just had like different fenders put on, but
there we go.
Modern fenders with the 70s from the 70s.
It's a 1971 Nissan Skyline.
Okay.
It's also, the people who commented on this, it's like, this is an extremely rare car.
Okay, yeah.
Floating around Brazil.
Yeah,
some people say it was a Datsun. It's like, no, it was a Nissan. No, in Brazil, they were all Datsun. So there's this whole interesting like universe of arguing going on here.
Yeah, you don't see Datsuns anymore. I remember one friend, his dad had a Datsun. It was rusted all to hell, and that was the only car I'd ever seen that said Datsun on it. I was like, what the hell is this car? And then it's like, oh, it became Nissan. And so just confused for 5 years until I learned that.
I knew a guy who had a Datsun pickup truck, 4-speed stick shift, inline 4-cylinder. 397,000 miles on it. It finally died. The input shaft from the transmission to the motor, the crankshaft, the little keyway that locked into it actually wore smooth.
Huh.
And it was like, how do we fix this? It's like, you got to get a new crankshaft. It's like, is there any crankshaft available for a 1969 Datsun pickup truck? No, there's not. I mean, that was pre-internet. So it's like, now you could probably find that.
Yeah.
But we took that apart and it's
we're gonna get a custom made carbon fiber crankshaft for the Datsun.
Yeah. Gonna custom spin up this. Yeah. It was a pretty big 4-cylinder. I think it like displaced like 2.5 liters or so. It was a big sized engine. But I couldn't believe when we took that. Well, because it's just a gearbox. You just take it off. And immediately my friend who knows way more than me, he's like, oh yeah, the splines are all screwed up. It's like, huh? And we were looking at it and he explained to me and I was like, wow. And he goes, yeah, this is like something that's just been a sewing machine. It just got worn out. Because what happened was the bearing where that thing went through the transmission blew out.
Yeah.
Probably 15 years before. So this thing was just like twisting the bearing around inside it and finally the bearing just seized up. But the crankshaft just kept twisting away or down. So like the way you put that together, there was no way to mate them. but this thing had 300,000 miles on it. And the guy wasn't too unhappy. It's like, can we take the motor apart just to see what an engine like that? The stuff was so smooth inside and rounded. It was amazing. Like none of the rings they weren't even piston rings anymore. They just like formed into this kind of matter around the, it was like, it's all still working. This is amazing. The carburetor was just a box where gas floated in it. It had a float plate. And then when you hit the valve, it would go down into the motor, but it would drop. It kind of had this like drop chute in it. And that was it. It wasn't even proportioned right, because when you rev it up, the motor would be kind of like, because it wasn't without a time. It was because it wasn't getting gas, because so much gas had been poured into it and it had been hot and cold for so many years. There was actually grooves where the fuel went down. Just made grooves through the dried up fuel and old shit that was in the engine. It's like, this thing's amazing. So simple. I mean, it had top speed of about 55 too. So it wasn't perfect in all ways, but couldn't drive it on a freeway, but we didn't have freeways around us. Man.
But yeah, that makes sense that Brian has the skyline, because that's usually his character has the skyline, has a skyline. Yeah. So, they're greeted by one of their crime buddies, Vince, who's from the first movie. Mia and Brian just start shoveling food, so they act like they haven't eaten in days or something. Brian and Vince talk. We see that Mia is sick, implying she's pregnant, and then that's just immediately confirmed.
Yeah.
They're waiting for Dom to show up. Vince talks about
no money for food, no money for condoms. That's how it happens, folks. Food insecurity.
Vince talks about a job to steal some high-end cars, and so like, yeah, I'm in. Which like, yeah, you'll get. I mean, you get an idea of it later on, but like in the first movie, Brian and Vince were very contentious characters because he was an undercover cop and he was very suspicious of him. He's like, no, this dude didn't drop out of nowhere. He's like, he's a cop. Then we see Brian and Mia on a train. Mia is like looking around all the countries that they can go to that don't have extradition treaties, because she's like, all right, well, how do we have a future now that we're wanted criminals? Then Brian and Mia
really doesn't have an extradition treaty with the United States where you'd want to live.
Yeah.
Probably like North Korea doesn't. It's like, I don't
how does Switzerland do that? Or are they like neutral in that case?
Some of those countries, you can't extradite if they're death qualified crimes, but they'll hold you in their prison. Like, you're not walking free. Like, Canada won't extradite you back to America for a murder charge if you're death eligible, but they will hold you in their prisons for life. I mean, they're not like free to walk around. It's because we just send Navy SEALs up there to get them or something. They don't want to get that crap. So.
Yeah, this is like situations where like I only know of this stuff like through movies, like not through like the actualities of it.
Yeah, I've never really had to invest a lot of my mental horsepower into who doesn't have an extradition treaty with the United States where I could live. Is there a first English-speaking country that doesn't have that? No. Well, I guess I better not do any extraditionable crimes then.
And they had that one guy who was the NSA guy that moved to Russia. That's the only closest thing I know.
Snowden?
Yeah, Snowden. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's living on some kind of by the mercy and grace of Vladimir Putin, which that's just doesn't sound like a good situation just saying it out loud. So well, good luck, Edward. I wish you the best.
Yeah, I guess I'll just have to keep criticizing America, and then that's my only shield.
Yeah. Well, no, he criticizes Putin too.
Yeah.
This isn't a free country. It's like, dude. Do you want to be a martyr? I mean, if I was his lawyer, if you want to be put up on a cross, FSB will help you do that. They will actually do that if you ask.
But. So yeah, Brian and Mia move on their plan to steal cars from the train. We see a 4x4 flatbed truck. I wrote flat, or either corrected or I wrote flatbread truck. No, it's a flatbed truck. It's flying through the desert. It's got like 3 foot long suspension travel. It looks cool. I feel like I feel like they had to like really edit around this truck because it seemed like it had to crash every time they filmed this thing. So,
Well, that other train was moving 10 miles an hour.
yeah,
Because there's trade-offs you make when you raise your suspension, and one of
yeah,
those usually is being able to drive at very high speeds for extended periods of time, especially over the rock ballast that would be next to a train track. But anyway, we're invested in the fantasy, so
yeah.
yeah, they
Well,
made
no.
up road warrior vehicles to do
Well, there's
that.
like a time where you see like the car kind of leap in the air, and it seems like, oh, it's front heavy, it's starting to dive, and they just cut to it like fine. And I'm like, I think it must have crashed in that scene.
Cut, bring in the new stunt riders.
um, Brian breaks open a case of keys, and he sees that they've been like seized by the DEA, and we do see some federal agents like sitting in the passenger compartment. So it's like, okay, that's what's going on here. Then the flatbread truck pulls up, and they have plasma cutters that they use to cut the door on the train. Are these just acetylene torches? They say it's plasma cutters later on. Okay.
Pedaling torches wouldn't cut that fast.
Okay. Um. Uh. Yeah. So yeah, they cut a hole in the train, and then Dom shows up. He's on the flatbed truck, and then like they hook up cars to the flatbed truck, and it just like yanks it out onto its flatbed, and then somebody gets in the car. They lower the thing down, and they just like back out onto the desert way and drive away. It's really cool. So,
Knight Rider, that shit. Yeah.
yeah. um. And then like yeah, so they're like I forget what the I can't. Oh yeah, I forget the first car they take out, but then yeah, they get the
D.
GT40.
Tommaso Pantera.
Okay.
Those are cool cars.
Yeah, all these cars they're taking are cool. So. Then there's some contention about the GT40 being taken, which is this like supposed to be like an original GT40 or like one of the modern ones?
I'm not sure. I wasn't
Okay.
sure on that. I think it's a modern one.
Okay. Um. So yeah, they end up kind of bickering over it, but.
I actually didn't pay attention. I don't know why. There was probably so many things happening. I was like, okay, hold on.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the GT40 has such a history to it. It's like this could either be a $10 million car or just like a $200,000 car. um. But being that like the other vehicles, it's probably supposed to be like some sort of original GT40. Um. But then Mia ends up taking the car. The agents look back to see like this flatbed truck like stuck to the side of the train robbing cars, and they're like, oh, we better get back there. Um, then oh yeah, one of the Reyes guys, they start like fighting with the Dom's crew, and then Brian jumps in the back of the flatbed truck and kind of like hijacks it, and then Dom throws a guy off of the train like into a bridge. It's like, okay, well, he's dead.
One of the bad guys. Yeah.
Yeah. And then but then there's still like a guy. Brian's fighting with a guy in the flatbed truck. I think there was two guys or one guy. I can't remember, but the train's still moving. All is while this is going on. There's a fire on the train now. Oh yeah. So yeah, the second time Brian's fighting with a guy in the flatbed truck, they end up like crashing the flatbed truck into the side of the train, and now there's a fire. I think at some point, yeah, one of the Reyes' guy like just shoots the DEA agents, so now they got more federal crimes and bodies on them now, so that's gonna be a problem, even though it's not their fault. Brian hangs off the truck, and then Dob grabs a. What does he grab? Is this like some Corvette? It kind of looks like a Cobra, but it's a Corvette with like a roll hoop on it. I don't know what this was.
It's called a Corvette Grand Sport replica.
Okay.
Oh, it's something that was probably something just manufactured to look cool.
Okay. All right. So he just drives it off the train. He doesn't have the assist from the flatbed truck. And he's driving along, and so that Brian can jump onto the car. And so Brian's able to jump on the car before like another bridge comes up and knocks off the flatbed truck. But then they don't have enough roadway to stop, so then Dom floors it and he flies off into this river canyon. And it's like this really cool moment because like everything kind of slows down, the music stops, and like they kind of like they go 0G and they kind of like stand up and they jump out of the car and fly into the river. It's really well done.
Yeah, it looks cool. It looks like that's possible. It's like, oh, this is what you do in this situation.
Yeah. um. But then some guys, the guns show up and they hold them hostage, and it's like, well, that that was probably unnecessary. So, then we cut to Brian and Dom are hung up by chains. Reyes, who played by Joaquin de Almeida yeah, something like that, which we know from. Well, we haven't watched it yet, but we will sometime. Desperado. He's the guy who's like, hey, I don't know who that guy. Kill him. That's this guy. So.
Yeah, he's actually a Portuguese actor too.
Oh, okay, that totally works then.
So they got the right guy. I know him from he was the Colonel Felix in the Clear and Present Danger movie.
Okay, well that's got a lot of parallels with this. So.
Yeah, that was like his first big American movie, I think.
Okay.
And trying to think, but yeah, Desperado, we would know him for that too, because he's the heavy in that. He's been in a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of plays this character a lot, although this character here is a bit more subdued and less violent than the other characters he plays usually. So.
Yeah, he's not quite as crazy as he could be.
Yeah. Then Reyes leaves when Brian and Dom don't talk, and then Brian and Dom like fight back and break free. Then we cut to Mia's in a hideout. Brian and Dom show up. Now they're wanted for killing 3D agents that the Reyes guys killed. A C-130 roll. We cut to a C-130 rolls in, or just some military jet with Hobbs, played by Dwayne Johnson. He shows up to hunt down Dom, Brian, and Mia. So like, I can't remember what official group he's supposed to be with, but basically he's like with, like the FBI or something like that, or the DEA. I don't know. They give some.
It has a name. It's the Diplomatic Security Service.
Oh, okay. So there's a real thing that they've just made it. But just made them basically like a Navy SEAL team, or maybe these guys are like that. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea. I feel like we use subcontractors to do that kind of security work, but maybe it's because these guys are showing up in other countries. That could be.
So yeah, he talks to one like local cop that's supposed to like handle things, but then Hobbs wants a specific cop to be the translator. So you can already tell like he doesn't trust the local police, and he's right to think so. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Vince shows up. We cut to Vince shows up as Mia and Dom and Brian are pulling apart the GT40, looking for what thing that was hidden in it that's extra valuable. There's some contention between them all because Vincent like gave them the job. He just we don't know if he's like selling them out or if he's like was just sold a bag of, something bad, right? Like, no, I just legitimately thought we were stealing high-end cars and selling them. I didn't know it was like something else. Then we cut to Reyes is holding some business meeting with some guys. And here he talks about like we get kind of like the ethos of Reyes, where he talks about the Portuguese taking over Brazil with gifts.
Yeah,
like he says if you just beat the hell out of people, well then they have nothing to lose and they'll fight back against you. So if you give them gifts and give them something to lose, then they're easier to control, which is I don't know, evil and interesting way to think about something. So, because that's what he's talking about, like the favelas, the way he controls the favelas is like, I give them water and electricity, and then when they don't listen to me, I take it away. So,
yeah, it's pretty persuasive.
But yeah, this kind of shows off like he's not just like some obscenely violent drug lord. He's more. Because I'm not even sure, like, is his money coming from drugs? Or, I mean, they just say he's just, like, a general criminal. Like, he's all crime just involves him somehow. He's just, like, the ultimate middleman, I'm guessing. So.
Yeah, I mean, in kind of the generic architecture of this film, everything that is not America or Canada involves getting drugs to America and Canada and all the, all the stuff that goes along with that. So, yes.
Then we cut to it's night. Vincent goes into the car to grab some chip. Don catches him, and so Vincent tries to get the chip to like negotiate with Reyes. Like, yeah, if I just give him this, then they'll leave you alone. So Vincent leaves mad. They don't let him have the chip. We cut to Hobbs is investigating the train. This is where he says like, they use plasma cutters. Now you trace down like the gas. You need gas canners, so go to all the gas canner places and track those down. And here's where we meet Elena, played by Elsa Pataki, who she has like she's got her own stuff. She's done a lot of stuff. She was in I can't remember. Remember that one like they take over like the radar station in the ocean? It was like a Netflix, basically kind of like bad Die Hard movie.
Yeah, it was the anti-missile base.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget what that's called, but I know what you're talking about.
She played 2 roles in the Furiosa movie. But she's probably most famous for being Chris Hemsworth's wife. So.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
I think she's also Spanish, so it's another one that's like, let's get the Hispanic lady, but let's get the whitest one we can find. So
yeah,
go right to Spain.
Brazilian, it works. Yeah.
Yeah, what was it? Interceptor? That was the movie she did.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Kind of fun, not good at all.
No, good idea.
Yeah. So yeah, here we were explaining like why he chose her is because like her husband was killed. He was a police officer, and then after that, she joined the police. So he's like, she's the only one in Brazil that can't be bought because she's like, it's more about the principle than any money that because like no money is gonna bring her husband back. So yeah, then they end up tracking the GT40 into the favelas. We cut to Brian sees what's on the chip and it's some delivery schedule, which here they say it's like they're like, are they delivering drugs? And he's like, no, they're money shipments because like the big boys weigh their money instead of counting them individually.
Yeah.
Here he says 49 kilos is $1 million in $20 bills, which that's about 108 pounds. So
Yep.
And they're doing like $10 million shipments at a time, and basically there's $100 million in total. So,
a lot of cash lying around.
Yeah. And we got the Hobbs and crew move in on the favela. They get some resistance by the local people, but then they back down.
They pull all these guns.
Yeah.
Because Hobbs has a Smith & Wesson 629 Smith & Wesson Performance Center modded out 44 Magnum. It's about a $3,000 gun nowadays.
Okay.
I don't know what it cost back then, but now I looked it up to buy one with all the kit or whatever. It's like close to $2,500, $3,000.
Okay.
It's got a heavy barrel on it. It's compensated. They say it's like shooting. They say it's just very light felt recoil, but you're shooting a 44 Magnum. So.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Yeah.
I think he has some. There's some movie he did that was like very unknown. Is it called? No, it's not called Revolver. It's something like that. But he has like some like snub nose Alaskan, like crazy revolver that would just like
snub nose 454 Casull or something.
Yeah. But yeah, let me see if I can find it real quick. Faster. That's what it's called. Yeah, it's right. Okay. It's right on the poster, so you can see it. So yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's Dwayne likes his character to have revolvers, or if that's just a happenstance.
No, he was using a Ruger Red Hawk Alaskan in that movie.
Okay.
Which is a 44 Magnum also. It's just a snub nose 44 Magnum.
Oh, okay. Still, that can't be fun to shoot.
Yeah, well, it better be as big as him to hang on to it.
Yeah.
Little 38 snub noses kicked my ass. I can't imagine what those 44 Magnums like.
Uh, Reyes guys gets to the garage first before Hobbs guys do, and like they start shooting up the place when we see Brian, Dom, and Mia just like leave at at any window or door. They just all leave separately. It's like, well, we don't need to make an order about this because you ever hear about like the efficiencies of plane travel and like exiting the plane.
Uh-uh.
Yeah, so people that come up with different methods where it's like, well, actually, it'd make more sense to like for the people in the back to leave first, and they're like, nah, we're not gonna do that.
I can hear you now.
Yeah, the network made me re-sign in here.
Oh,
So.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here, exiting the plane efficiently.
Yeah, so like some countries, like there's different polite ways to do it, but some people think like it would be easier to exit from the back first and then exit from the front or some other methods. But I guess the American way of just like take your seatbelts off, immediately stand in the aisles and grab your shit is actually more efficient than any other methods. It just feels worse.
Yeah, it's just abrupt.
But yeah, I never get it when like, when the plane comes to a stop and then just everybody stands up and it's like, well, now we're just waiting, and then everybody's in your way. So, yeah, so everyone exits the garage. As like Reyes guys are shooting at them. Hobbs teams move towards the gunfire. Hobbs tells Elsa to stay behind. Dom races across the rooftops. Like Hobbs ends up chasing him, where it's kind of a cool scene where like where Dom just like jumps off a roof and then like Hobbs just like barrels through a window as he's like falling down. And they have like Dom like look back and notice him like in the middle of the jump, and it's like there's no way you're doing that.
Yeah,
Concentrate on your landing.
Machine guns at you. There's no way like. Yeah, then they just fight like Terminator robots when they land. Like they're just gonna throw each other through walls and shit. No one to get hurt. They're gonna punch each other's heads off their shoulders, but everyone's fine.
Yeah.
Getting hit like that's like putting your head in a paint mixer, but in movies. And I know these are all just action movies, but it's like only one or two shots like that, and you're going down, or you're gonna be in some kind of concussion thing. That's so wild. It's fun to watch though.
Yeah, watch real people like take like a 3-foot fall on concrete, and it's like they're out. Like
yeah,
that now it's
they're
a
rolling
trip.
around. Like yeah.
Man, I saw a moment of the West Virginia Kansas game today, and it was like the last 4 minutes of the second quarter took like an hour because there's just an injury on every play. I was like, so are the teams good or do they both suck? I don't know.
It's been a weird football season this year so far.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even understand like who's where. There's like I don't even know if there's a Big 12 anymore. I'm pretty sure there's not a Pac-10 anymore.
Oh, that's gone.
Yeah.
My son could come in here and like with one of those charts where a bunch of yarn is drawn together could explain to you how it's reconfigured now.
Yeah.
But
like,
between
I know, like USC's in the Big 10 now, which is ridiculous because now like the Big 10 has like I don't know like 18 teams or something like that.
Yeah, it's the Big 20, Big 19.
And I think like Stanford's now a part of the ACC, which that's insane.
Yeah, like I said, my son could explain it, and then he throws in the layer of like, and then the transfer portal comes into play, and you don't know what team you're going to have next year because everyone wants to be their own star, and it's like, wow, okay. That's why he doesn't even watch U of M football anymore. He's like, well, last year was the cool year, and I'm done because I don't even know what's going on anymore, who we're playing, and what how it's working, and who's the quarterback this week, and.
Yeah, it's weird because you feel like, well, it's now if they're getting paid to play, you feel it'd be like more like professional football, or where it's like people kind of stick with the team and have a long-term contract. But I guess that's I guess he can just get out of the deal every year. So,
Yeah, it's very confusing. I'm,
um,
it's I don't know. It's one of those things. It's going to be different from now on.
yeah, I mean, it's better. Yeah, I'm not an athlete, so I don't know if it's better for them. It seems like it would have to be. I mean, it might be confusing for people like rooting for them, but like college sports is so weird,
Yeah,
anyways.
it's
Because
very unusual.
you think it's like, all right, you watch football, you watch college basketball. It's like, okay, that's it. But there's still like college men's and women's college volleyball, men's and women's college field hockey, and regular hockey and soccer. And there's just like all these sports going on all the time that you just never see or watch, but they're out there.
Oh yeah.
Somebody's getting a scholarship to go to school for that. Because I always thought, like, man, like there's a men's volleyball like college team, but like I don't see men's volleyball being played in high school. It's like, could I get a scholarship to a college for men's volleyball?
One
Because
of
whenever
Grayson's he's going to Kentucky for bowling.
okay,
Now it doesn't cover. It's not 100% scholarship,
oh okay,
but it's like 60%. Or I mean,
hey,
it's
that's
hundreds
not
of
bad.
thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
It's a lot of money. So
because I kind of tricked myself because I think I'm in gym class we'd play volleyball occasionally, and like I was just the right height and I had just the right arm length that if I stood completely still and just slap the shit out of that volleyball, the volleyball would go barely over the net and come at a weird angle at everyone on the other side, and then like I basically just sit there and win the game with.
yeah.
It's like, huh? Could I play college volleyball? And then you watch college men's volleyball, and it's like, oh fuck, no way. Those guys
I
are like.
thought the Top Gun volleyball team was tough. Holy crap!
Well, yeah, well, it's also like you see that like those guys are basically basketball players. They're like 6'7", can jump 3 feet in the air. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Oh
not.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't stop that.
Ooh.
Well, that's like the thing I lamented about. Like I played basketball in high school, and it's like because I was fat, they just made me the center.
Yeah.
Which and I guess for high school I was tall then. I was 5'11", and I just never grew any taller than that. But like if I was to progress and like get into professional sports magically somehow, I would have to be playing point guard. Like so it's like how am I going to get a college scholarship as a basketball player if I'm playing center when I can only go to like the only legitimate position I could play in college is point guard. It's like but oh well. Let's see. Yeah, Mia and Brian are escaping down like staircases and rooftops because those just all combined together in here. I don't know. Yeah, favelas are confusing. So yeah, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of like building permits around. Things like just
Yeah. There's not a lot
happen.
of good coding going on in the favelas. It's
Elena holds up Dom. Dom gets her out of the way when Reyes guys show up and start spraying bullets. Dom says something like he knows her, but I don't think that's like I think that's more like rhetorical and not literally. So
yeah.
I don't think they have any association. I think it's just something weird. Um, we cut to Mia and Brian like leap through a tin roof and then just disappear. It's another like slow motion jump that looks pretty cool. It's a cool stunt. They just had real people jump into some tin roof. So
Yeah.
Hobbs comes back to Elena, but Dom is gone. But his silver necklace, which I forget. That might be Letty's. I can't remember. I can't remember how far the mythos of the silver necklace, but it's important throughout the franchise.
Yeah. That this was one of these things I felt like I need a background on it, but I didn't fall.
And then Dom, Mia, and Brian leave through a water spillway. Dom wants to split up, but then Mia tells everyone she's pregnant, and so like now she wants everyone to stick together, and so yeah, Dom gives everybody a hug. It's like now we're family now, which is a very big thing in this franchise. Is just saying things like family, which is actually like kind of an endearing quality of the franchise, where it's like when they say family, they don't mean like blood relations or anything like that. It's just like family's what you make it, and like when you're family, it's like Olive Garden. When you're family, you're here.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
So that being the end of Act 1. So, because they know like there's some money they need to go after. Hobbs is chasing them down. So yeah, that's the plot. So Act 2, we got Hobbs' team looks over the garage with the GT40. Elena is skeptical on the guilt of Dom, but then in his crew, but then like Hobbs is just like, yeah, I don't care. Their name on the desk. Like I don't care. I don't care if they have like good intentions or anything like that. I have to bring them in because they're wanted for a bunch of federal crimes. So, they're able to trace the car to Reyes. Hobbs makes the team put the car back together to see what's missing, which is funny.
Yeah.
It's like, boss, that's going to take a long time. He's like, well, you better get started. So,
I actually saw that as the win for the guys. It's like, so we're putting this car together and you guys are going out and getting shot up, right? Car together detail then. Boss, just let me know when you're ready. We'll have it together.
But I like that these guys can like, they're like special forces guys. They got to do a lot of desk work too. And they can just put like a high-end sports car back together.
Hey, if you're muscular, you can do anything.
Yeah.
And that must be true, because take it from a fat guy, I can do nothing. And it's like the only reason build a nuclear bomb in my basement is because I'm obese.
We cut to Brian talks to Dom and asks him about his father. Dom speaks glowingly about his father, where it's like he had like it's basically like he worked forever and then he'd come home and help his kids forever, and like he never slept, but he always made time for everybody. And then a big thing he would do with like the block is he'd hold a barbecue every Sunday, and basically if you went to church you got barbecue, and if you didn't get food. So. Propaganda for the church.
Yeah. So yeah, has the Vin Diesel character does he always have this religious bent to him? Because I noticed this came up a few times in the movie. There seems to be like a vaguely religious like underpinnings to what he believes.
There's always kind of like, there's always kind of a right and wrong thing. Well, it's his dad died when he was young, and then so basically he survived by doing crime. So that's like kind of his like, that's his complication of his character, where it's like, he believes in a code, but like, well, and also, there's a thing which like, there's a moment that comes up as like more important for the history of the franchise. Cause that's the other thing is like, I forget, he had to protect somebody. I forget who it was, but he basically beat them half to death with like a wrench or something like that. And so then he went to jail for that, and then got out, and basically like there was no work for him, and so it's like, well, we're gonna hijack trucks now. That's our job. So I feel like there's good in him, but like the avenues presented to him were just crime, or at least that's the one he took. So, but then the whole franchise is spent because technically he's the bad guy in the first movie.
Yeah.
And so now you gotta go on like, well, how do we make this guy a hero? And so, and not just like a local hero, like how's he save the world eventually? So that's what the franchise approaches. Brian says he doesn't remember his father. Like, it doesn't sound like his dad was like it wasn't like he's divorced or something like that. Just like, well, he's busy and he didn't spend time with me. So and then Dom's like reassuring him, like, yeah, you're not going to be that guy. So I'll kick your ass if you do. So, but then Brian's like, we can't keep running, Dom. We got to get out. And then Dom and Brian look at the chip, and they decide they're going to steal all of Reyes' money. So they're like, well, $100 million ought to do it. So that we can buy our freedom then. Then they say, like, we're going to need a team. And then we cut to a montage of assembling the team together as they bring together people from all the other Fast and Furious movies. We get Roman, Tyrese Gibson, played by Tyrese Gibson. We get Tej, Ludacris. They show up at the team meet first, and these two guys are for Too Fast and Too Furious. So Vin Diesel, the Dom character, doesn't know who they are, but Brian does. Then we get Giselle, played by Gal Gadot. She shows up. She's from Fast and Furious, the previous movie. She's like their weapons expert, and like ex-Mossad agent, which they say later on. So, we get Leo and Santos show up, but they're just kind of like the kind of like shit kicking duo. Like they do all the dirty works to jobs.
Yeah.
They're from the previous movie. We get Han, played by Sung Kang, which is important because he's like I said, he's the linchpin of the franchise. He's not in 2, but he's in 1. He's in Tokyo Drift, and then Tokyo Drift like kind of resurrects this franchise. He shows up eating chips and talks to Giselle because he's doing that a lot in this movie, which then reveal that like, oh, he's like quitting smoking. That's why he always has to have like his hands busy. So it's like, oh yeah, that's fun. I remember that was something pointed out in the Ocean's 11 franchise. Is like I think the Brad Pitt character always, one of his like acting choices is his character's always eating. So.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think that was a smoking thing. I think it was just like a random thing. Here, there's a reason. He's like, oh, he just needs his hand busy because he quit smoking. Dom and Brian meet the crew. Now they're all combined together. And so they kind of like, I forget. Roman's supposed to be like the guy who can talk, but really he's just kind of like an all-rounder, like master of none, but like he kind of comes through. Tej is their tech guy. Giselle is like the weapons expert, and then Han, I don't know. Han's just kind of like, he's a good driver. He kind of does some. He's another all-arounder, but he's more laid back. So they go over the plan. They're going to rob one of the cash houses, but they're going to pull a feint attack. So they're going to make them think. They're going to make them think they're going to attack all the houses, so they'll combine it together. So that's what they're meant to do. So we cut to the cash house, or one of them. There's ladies in underwear counting the money. Then they hold up the place, and then Dom sets a pallet of money on fire in front of them. So which everyone's kind of like, oh, man, I could have used that money. So.
Yeah, it's like, that's infinitely useful. It's useful in more than one way. But
we better report that to the the FDIC so that the stock market can, the value of the dollar will go up, because now we just eliminated money from the world cash flow. So,
that should be the next Fast and the Furious movie. They're just burning money to make the dollar into some kind of Bitcoin, physically destroying the money, destroying the printing presses too. It's a libertarian dream.
But they don't just like walk up to the machinery. They have to crash a car into it.
Yeah.
Then we cut to Hobbs' team gets the GT40 back together, but they don't notice anything missing. Oh, they hear like they turn it on. Like one guy's happy. It's like, oh yeah, all the cylinders are working. So he's kind of like pleased with himself. It's like, yeah, we don't. But then just Hobbs sees a screen console in there, and he says like, nobody should do this to a car like this, a classic like this. So I think it's supposed to be like an original GT40 then, but I don't know. The console opens up and it says there's an error, and then he's just like, they took the chip, which I don't know how you can assume that, but I'm not gonna question the logic of the movie at this point. It's on for the ride. So, yeah, why was that chip there in the first place? Was that the only place they like kept this log of where the money is? Like that nowhere else? But
yeah, it's just one of those things. Just go with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Then they get news about Reyes getting robbed, and they know it's Dom and his crew who did it, because they said like nobody else in Rio de Janeiro would be crazy enough to steal from him. We cut to Reyes meets the head of the cash house guy, who tells him what happened, and then Reyes beats him with some like heavy desk trinket. So this is kind of like the one time he's kind of like, overreactive and crazy. I guess at the end of the movie kind of is, but really he's just kind of riding shotgun at the end of the movie. Reyes commands all his money like get under lock and key in an hour. So then we have a montage of the money being picked up from all the cash houses. And well, it's funny that they said that like they have so much money they have to wait instead of counting it, and then like the cash house we go to, it's like it's being counted by hand. So
it's just like machines, and it's all that stuff.
So that then they see that the money's all being consolidated to a lockup in a police station, which now some of the crew are concerned and others are not. But it's like, yeah, we can't rob a police station. It's like, well, we're already wanted criminal. Well, I guess some of us are now, but this is where it's like, oh, it's okay. Yeah, he owns the police. That makes an extra. It's like, okay, this makes this extra hard. Then Hobbs and team learn about Dom and his new team because they got like they're just they have some magical scanning software and they see his charger and then they have masks on but they're able to like get a facial scan through the mask and then they're able to like coordinate that with like known associates and then they check like recent like people coming into the country and then they basically have the whole team like locked together. So. Which could happen. I don't know. It makes them look smart, and it just happens, and then they're like, "Yeah, these are formidable people." Reyes goes to the police station to look at his money. The police are in his pocket. Reyes tells the cops there's a bounty on Dom and his team's head, which I don't know if that's meant for everybody or just for the cops, but I'm guessing it's for everybody. He wants everybody after them. Then we cut to like the team elects Roman to do inside surveillance. So he goes up like posing. He has like Brian's like FBI badge, but they put his picture on it. And then like the cop at the door is like, it says you're Caucasian, which is funny. So.
Yeah, that is because like this is supposed to be their fast talking guy. Like this is skill. Like, well, talk way out of this one.
And he's like, I'm just my boss, and I need to leave this box here. And he's like, no. It's like, well, he's like, I just need to check out and make sure it's like it's good enough. And he's like, that's good enough. And he's like, I need to get in there, but he leaves the box with them as he's about to like call like the embassy or something. The guy takes the box and puts it in the evidence locker, but so all that was for nothing because then it's just revealed that Tej has a remote control car inside the box and it jumps out of the box and they're able to like peek around at the lockup. Which Tej sees the safe and he reads out the specs on the safe, which is all, I don't know, this is all techno babble. It could be true. I have no idea. They just let you know it's a hard safe to get into. So.
Yeah.
Then we have Leo and Santos blow up a sewer pipe, which that's hardcore. It's kind of a comedic moment because you have like one of the desk cop is in there and he like runs out pulling his pants up and his gun falls off his pants. So then they go into the police station posing as plumbers, and then they find something on a scanner and cut a hole in a concrete wall and then tap into their surveillance system. They like make up a mock track from the camera surveillance because they're trying to basically like do a runtime so that they'll never be caught on camera, which is fun, but it's just like it's never actually useful through the rest of the movie. But it's like I like the thinking process. So.
Yeah, because they basically decide to go another way because it's like, there's no way we can beat these cameras.
Yeah.
And they can't hack into the system. It's unhackable. So all they can do is passively monitor it. So it's like, we beat the cameras. It's kind of cool. It's kind of an Ocean's 11 type. How do we do this?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. No, what they do well here is that they show you the A to Z thinking of a plan to do the heist. And then ultimately they do something else that's even crazier and it becomes a surprise because they show you them thinking, but like then what happens is like, oh, we have no idea what the plan is now. And then they just execute it and it's amazing. So.
And what they do then is called anti-thinking. It's like, we'll turn it around on ya. Excuse me.
Dom and Brian go and look for fast and agile cars to try to get through the course, the camera course. They go to a car meetup and look around, and they race pink slips with a guy for a Porsche GTR-S or some Porsche GTR or something like that. That's another like crazy performance car. It's always weird with Porsche because every Porsche looks exactly the same, but they have wildly different performance characteristics.
Yeah, it's because basically all they have is the 911 body style anymore.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, it can be anything from a mildly fun sports car to something with 1,200 horsepower. It just depends on what you're doing that day.
But then they don't show the race; they just cut to them having it. So that's fun. And then they don't use the car.
No,
it's just like, here's a cool car.
I think they just found some people and they said, "Hey, you want your car to be in this movie?" Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
You won a prize. You got the Pepsi can that has the Fast and Furious code, and now you get to win this car, and it's in the movie. Is it a real Porsche? No, it's just a painted mock-up. But
yeah, I think I saw one of a donut video where they went to Brazil, and they do have like interesting. Well, every place has their own kind of car culture, but they do have interesting stuff. Like I think they have. Oh, what is it? They have like some kind of alternate gas that they can use, and so they can build like crazy different kinds of engines because they're not using like normal gas, or at least they have alternative fuel that they can use.
Yeah, they probably can add alcohol and stuff to their fuel. Shit, we can't.
Yeah.
Because the way to build a high horse engine in the old school was just to use ethylene lead.
Yeah.
That would just smooth out all the knocks and make the engine so you could run it at higher and higher compression ratios. You could put aviation fuel in it, but you had to have lead in it, which was like going to give everyone cancer. That's why they quit. That's why they went to unleaded fuel. But yeah, they probably have something like they can use. I think they use a lot of ethanol in Brazil. I think that's what they do. So there's a lot of stainless steel and ethanol grade engines.
What's that kind of alternative flex fuel that we have? Was it E80 or what's it called?
Yeah, ethanol, E85.
Yeah, E85. Yeah, there's like special things you can do. If you have an engine that can run it, there's like special things you can get on it, because I guess a property of it is that you can burn it faster, and so you can actually like make like interesting high-end horsepower cars with just using the E85 fuel.
Yeah, you have to have an E85 engine in the United States just has a lot of stainless steel in it.
Yeah.
Because the 85 doesn't necessarily burn clean, so you have to have a lot of stainless steel components so it passes through. But you can get a lot of power out of it. Gas mileage is horrible, though.
Yes,
not get good mileage.
Yeah, but if you're looking for speed and you don't care about mileage, that's a great way to do it.
Because I know some people had some E85 rated F-150s that they made. Chevy made the most of them, because I think we only did it for like a year and everyone was like, no thanks. I think Chevy did it where they could run on either one. But yeah, if you put E85 in, it was like $1.50 a gallon cheaper here. But people were like, man, you get like 12 miles of the gallon max. It's like it just flies through it. It's like, yeah, it's essentially just natural gas. That's how it's stabilized. It's stabilized with fermentation or something. But yeah, you can do crazy stuff.
Brian tries the mock track that they set up, which is like inside this warehouse, and it's like all crazy, like barely missing all these pillars and stuff like that. And they're like, they still caught you on camera. He's like, damn it. And then they just never used that Porsche ever again. They'd use different cars and see different combinations and different drivers to see if they can make it happen, but nobody's got it yet. They get a copy of the safe for Tej to figure out how to break in. It's like, man, how did this happen? Like, that safe's got to be worth millions of dollars or some crazy stuff. But whatever, it's fun. They have a safe now. Yeah, it's always like the throwaway line where it's like, I had a life before I met you, which is just allows them to just have something.
Yeah, they have Matt super skills.
Yeah. And that's just like the throwaway line to like, I don't have to explain myself. We have this now. Yeah, we have a montage of everyone trying to race the cameras in different cars. Han has to go to get a copy of Rhea's handprint for the scanner. Giselle goes out with him. Here's where they like talk to each other and like kind of get to know each other. And then like he says like Giselle was in the Mossad because he recognized her Jericho handgun. And then she recognizes that he quit smoking because he's like constantly eating. Han's trying to figure out how he's going to get handprint, but then Giselle uses her looks to like go over and talk to Ray's, and Ray's like, they get Ray's print from him grabbing her ass, and they just have like her like bikini bottoms there, and like, all right, now I can pull it off with this. And then Tej is just wondering, it's like, so did he grab it or did he like slap that ass? Which he uses in a different context later on for like how Brian got Mia pregnant. Which I don't know if he keeps using that. I don't think he keeps using that throughout the series, but they recycle it here.
Yeah, I did not know this was Gal Gadot until I had to pay attention. It's like, wait, this is Wonder Woman.
Yeah. This
didn't catch on to it halfway through them. I was like, wait a minute, this is Wonder Woman. Like, oh, okay. That's where I know her from.
Yeah, this is kind of where she got her big. Yeah, this is like 5 years before she did Wonder Woman, but she got big here. So,
okay.
Yeah, because I think. Yeah, because I mean, this is her big break. She did some stuff before this, but yeah, I mean, also she's a character in Fast and Furious, but let me cut to Hobbs' team gets eyes on Dom's Charger and they move out. Hobbs' team show up to arrest Dom and his team, but Dom just like casually resists the arrest. And he's like, hey, it's like, because they have all these like favela people there pulling handguns on them, which before that the favela people were scared, but now they're not. So now
the sun's down, so they can get away with it because bullets won't hit them in the darkness. The UFOs, so.
He notices Elena's wearing his cross. Hobbs' team pull out guns, and all of the car people pull out guns. And then Hobbs' teams back off from the showdown. And then as they leave, we like reveal that Tej was like hiding underneath their cars, putting trackers on them. So it's like, all right, we know where they are. Dom goes to Elena's house and gets the cross back from her. And so they talk about losing loved ones. And so he has a connection with her. It's like, oh, you understand, because this might something be confusing, like if you didn't know, like, oh, Letty died, but that's what they're talking about here. Like she lost her husband and he lost Letty, so that's what's going on.
I didn't know about that, but I didn't have to know about it because it's just like, yeah, that's just this guy. He says this stuff. He's a dark man. He has
when he shows up, it's kind of creepy because he's like reaching at like near her breast to grab the thing, and it's like, is he gonna assault her? And it's like, no, we actually have more in common than you know. It's like. And like, I don't know, in this franchise, like Vin Diesel's not really a sexual being anyway, so it's like,
yeah. Except when he's fighting with Hobbs.
Then we cut to like the next day. They still can't beat the cameras. Then they talk about invisible cars, and then cut to them just like stealing a bunch of cop cars. Are these Chargers cop cars that's going on here?
Yes, these are Charger police cars.
Okay. So yeah, they steal 4 Chargers, and then they have a quarter-mile race for $1 million. Brian ends up winning the race, and then Han and Roman imply that Dom let him win, which he's like mad about because this is a constant thing in the franchise is Brian and Dom like getting a fair fight in a quarter-mile race because just something always intervenes, or Dom cheats to win or something like that, or Brian's car blows up. There's always something that's like keeping this race from happening. So.
It's interesting with that the police here were driving Chargers.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I worked at the Focus plant, we built special cars that had the special, because we put the special colors and the markings on them. It was for the Brazilian police.
Oh, really? Huh.
We had actual Brazilian policemen there. They were watching the cars. I mean, they were dressed in their police uniforms, and they thought it was really cool what we were doing. They were like pointing at things and stuff. But yeah, we could. That's when we had that system where we could put any vinyl leathers you wanted on the car. And instead of having them, we can come out of the factory this way. And they were all the hatchbacks too. They didn't get the sedans. They wanted the hatchbacks because they were going to be their highway cars.
Huh.
And I remember the one guy in charge had a cool hat. Had like one of those, official like police military hats or something. Because their police forces are all like very, very militaristic.
Okay,
like this. They almost look like military uniforms. It's just they're blue.
Yeah.
But yeah, these guys are walking all around the plant. We'd drive them off the end of the line, and they were out in the parking lots looking at them and stuff. And because they told us, because I was on the afternoon shift, and they're like, we're going to be finishing the Brazil run. And I was like, what's the Brazil run? It's like, oh, we're making all the police cars for, it was some state in Brazil. I forget which one it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, down on the side of it, it said Policia de la or something in Portuguese. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Now, they didn't have the lights on them. They had to put the lights on them there. But we could run the paint scheme and everything down the line. And like I said, these guys were all running around like, this is so cool. Giant car plants in Brazil. I don't understand this, but the one guy said there was something special about knowing they were in America. They're from America. Like that made them extra cool.
Huh.
Because I guess they thought things made here were of better quality.
Yeah.
But God, they make fine cars there. You want to look up something cool, look up the Ford Brasilia plant. It's absolute mass. It's almost as big as the Rouge. It's this massive complex that makes all these different cars. I think 5,800 people work there or something.
Huh.
But yeah, these guys were really pumped about it. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Because I was just, it's like, oh, something different is happening today.
Yeah.
Because they use the British like checker patterns on their cars.
Okay. Yeah.
Checker paint scheme. So, because we usually just, black, white or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, they had that. And then they had the guys putting the appliques on the side. But yeah, they were running around. They were pretty excited. I think it might have been the actual cars they were going to drive too. So they didn't all speak English very well. So it wasn't a lot of, because they're going to be like, hey, so what do you use these for? Is this like highway patrol? And they're kind of like, yeah, we drive. It's like, cool. They'd wave, high five. It's okay. Yeah. It's a very Borat type situation.
Yeah, maybe these guys were like the Mounties of Brazil, where they had like some insane area they had to cover or something like that.
Yeah.
These were their cars.
Yeah, I'm not, but I do remember that night. I was like, oh, the Brazil run's going out. And 45 trucks lined up. They would just start ramping them on the trucks.
Well, I wonder if Reyes, being that he controls the police force, if these were chargers bought for the police force by Reyes.
I'm not sure. It's just funny. It's just I try to find things in my life that connect to this movie at all, and it's like, oh, we'll need a bunch of Brazilian police cars. No, they were all Focuses. They weren't high performance, but the guys that were getting them were sure happy as hell. They would get in them, and they were stick shifts too. That was the other thing.
Oh, okay.
Manual transmissions, like, interesting for police work. How do you do the radio and stuff? But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean they got some hills there, so that might be some work you got to do.
I'm not sure what part of Brazil. That's what I was trying to ask him. I was like, so what part of Brazil are you from? And they're like, Brazil, yeah. Like, yeah, where in the country? See, now if I wanted to ask anyone anything, I would just pull my phone out and ask a question and then press a button, and then it would say it in their language, and then, oh yeah, it's.
Do you have counties or prefectures or what's going on down there?
Yeah, do you states? I know Mexico has states.
Yeah.
I don't know what Brazil does. I don't know what the Portuguese system of organization is. Cantons, prefectures, who knows?
Yeah, I know Japan has the prefectures because a racing podcast I listen to, whenever they talk about like where a race is going on in Japan, they always say in Yagagami prefecture because it's just fun to say.
Yeah.
We cut to Mia's out shopping for groceries, and then Vincent shows up to grab her before Reyes guys grab her, which again, you're like, are we supposed to be suspicious here? What's going on? But Vincent's able to get back in good graces of Dom and Brian, and so they have a barbecue as like kind of a make good. So this is kind of like bringing back. Although nobody had to go to church to get barbecue here.
I was wondering that. I was like, when's the priest going to show up and bless food?
Yeah, it seems that like Dom doesn't appreciate the church, like the state of the church, but will use Christian values to whatever benefit he needs. But he's not going to church on Sundays.
Yeah, it just seemed like an interesting character. I don't know. Is this like a choice, a character quirk, or because I know Vin Diesel does get into like, I want to develop do character things, you know.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's also a shortcut for just like guilt. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
he's Catholic, so he's just guilty of everything. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, that's I don't know. That's like a thing that like Jewish people and Catholic people share, and maybe that's why there's a lot of great Catholic and Jewish comedians. It's like the whole guilt part. So.
Yeah. Whole playing games with God aspect of life. How
Seems
can I
a lot.
how can I outsmart the all-knowing, all-seeing entity that's outside of space and time and created the entire universe? I don't know, but I'm going to try one way or another. We're going to read the Talmud. We're going to cut holes in blankets. We're going to say, you know, we're going to forgive people's sins up until the moment of death, and then play philosophical games with like, so if Hitler hadn't committed suicide and had summoned a priest, asked to be forgiven, and then just got shot down in a hail of bullets, would he be in heaven? It's like, technically, he left the world in the state of grace. It's like, what? Come on. There's got to be a Hitler clause. Oh, no. Now, I don't know if that's exactly true, but I've had it explained. It's like, yeah, if you ask for forgiveness and die and, you know, being forgiven of your sins, it's like, wow, that seems like a pretty wide open road for some bad people.
I think that's why people really appreciate when the good guy just kills the bad guy in a movie.
Yeah.
Because you know he's just going straight to hell if that's what you believe in. There's no.
And then, like, would the priest be morally obligated to forgive Hitler's sins or whatever? It's like,
Yeah.
you got to ask all those questions too.
Yeah.
Is the priest going to be the door into Hitler getting into heaven? Does he want to live with that?
We're just going to defer this until it's somebody else's problem.
This is like a question for a bishop. Can you find a bishop?
Get the
I don't know.
cardinal in here.
Yeah. Oh, wait, the city's been raised to the pebbles. Well, yeah, it's one of those things.
Some of the guys talk about what they're going to do with the money. Tej is like, I'm just going to open a shop and like give good, fair service to people, which Roman thinks that's stupid. It's like,
Yeah.
wait, you're going to go through all this just to have a normal ass job? So.
Yeah. Going to be a mechanic. Get grifted by poor people who can't pay their mechanic.
Vincent asked to join on the job crew, and like here's where you get Dom says there's always room for family, which again, like, yeah, they're not blood related or anything like that, but that's just his mantra. So
sometimes when he says that, is like, is this like family in the sense of like the wars in Russia? Like, it's like you're part of the crime family. It's like, we'll brutalize you and murder you if we want to. It's like, what is the because, you know, when I think family of criminals, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
It's not the context here, but it kind of makes me wonder. It's like, because it sounds almost endearing, like, oh, when you're with us, you're family. But it's like, amongst criminals, that can mean a lot of bad. It's like, no, we own you. We call it family, but essentially you're our slave. And it's like,
I know it's like the phrase "thick as thieves," where like sometimes it means like, oh, it's paper thin. These people are out for themselves, and sometimes it means like, well, if I sell somebody out, then I'm gonna be sold out. So then there's just like this like unwritten rule of like, you know, other criminals are also like, I can't are part of my gang even if they aren't.
oh yeah, it becomes a circular firing squad. Like, well, if I rat him out, he rats me out. Here we go. You know, it's we're all going down.
So I actually don't know, like, what does thick of thieves mean? Does that mean like it's actual thick, or is it like an oxymoron?
What does it mean? The thieves are all fat. You don't know.
So yeah, there's mention of the cursed charger, which again I think this is like Dom's dad's '70s charger that he's like working on, which he just always has in tow. Which is like, it's like, God, it's like,
across multiple continents and.
yeah.
I bring this in, yeah, bring it. It's fine.
The team's brought in about the pregnancy, and so yeah, everyone's happy. Because like Roman's like, hey, have a beer, and it's like she can't. It's like, why? It's like she's pregnant, like, which takes them a while to catch on. But then we cut to morning. They start on the heist. they think Hobbs is on the other side of the country. They have the guys in the cop cars leave, and then immediately and then there's like half the team left behind, and Hobbs' team shows up, just crushes through the wall. Then he just like rams into the '70s Charger and just like crushes it with his armored truck. Which
that's called an Armet Gurkha F.
Okay, it's pretty crazy.
It's a Canadian armored vehicle that is built on an F-550 chassis.
Okay. Huh.
Which in the real world they have diesel engines. In this movie, they don't. Diesel engines just don't sound cool, but
okay.
Yeah, it's a big heavyweight body on that thing. It's a real vehicle though.
Yeah.
The company's been in and out of bankruptcy a few times trying to sell them to different militaries because they're not quite mil spec. Because the U.S. government's not going to buy something put on a civilian vehicle chassis because, like, well, we can build MRAPs. We got Oshkosh for that. So they're trying to fill these niche companies or countries where they can't afford the big military vehicles, and it has a civilian parts architecture, which makes it a lot easier to maintain. But yeah, I've actually seen one of these in real life at a car show. They're big. All inside though, not spacious.
Because he's got 6 inches of armor around everything. Yeah. It's like
it's basically an F series pickup interior.
Oh, okay.
Just around this really compressed body. So yeah, you sit in the thing, and it's like you're like this driving it. I mean, it's like, is this A pillar is kind of, well, like you said, it's big, thick. You know, you could sit in it, and it's like, yeah, this doesn't look like it'd be fun to drive. It also has like a high travel suspension too, which is kind of weird. It doesn't travel that much because it weighs so much. But yeah, I've seen one in real life. They're kind of cool. A lot smaller than what you think, though.
Oh, okay.
Maybe get 4 guys in there, and with a bunch of guns, maybe 3 guys.
But yeah, this thing can break through walls that magically don't have rebar in them, so it's good to go.
Yeah, they're just using straight slap poured concrete in Brazil. No buildings need to be reinforced there. It's perfectly geologically stable. It's not built off the ocean or anything. Don't reinforce that concrete. Just pour it. Make it exactly this thick, because you can also, your 2 main characters or your 2 main anti-heroes can fight each other and throw themselves through the same concrete walls, and no one's breaking their back or their pelvis. Again, not a lot of good coding going on in Brazil.
No.
To talk to their ex guy, he's in Miami now. What's his name? Bolsonaro. Guy who got voted out.
Yeah.
He was like Brazil's Trump, running around Miami trying to find friends.
So like Trump.
Yeah, exactly. They're the same person. It's the same. It's like a Mission Impossible mask. They just pull it off. No, Bolsonaro, and it's like, oh, you're just Donald Trump.
Just a black hole of narcissism in Miami.
Yeah.
Then Hobbs and Dom start fist fighting. Like, yeah, at one point Hobbs just rips off his bulletproof vest to like better fist fight Dom. So
I can't take your punches as completely with this armor on.
Yeah. But yeah, here's where you can see where like the contract work came in. Where basically like, all right, Hobbs and Dom have to be of equal strength, and we know pretty much that Dwayne Johnson would dominate Dom. So,
well, he's literally a head taller than him.
Yeah,
I mean, just in arm reach alone, I guarantee you, Dwayne Johnson could just you couldn't land a punch. Vin Diesel couldn't land a punch on him.
Yeah,
as soon as he got in close, he would just knock his head off. You'd have to go for the legs and do some kind of jujitsu stuff. And I don't know what. But
yeah, I don't know if Vin Diesel has martial arts training. I know, Dwayne Johnson was a pro wrestler, but you still know, like, wrestling moves and chokeholds and stuff like that. So I probably got to give the upper hand to Dwayne Johnson, being that he's bigger, taller, and has more experience with fighting people. Even if
I'm not a trained martial artist or a pugilist of any kind. I invested very little training into unarmed combat against others. Now, armed combat, I've learned a little bit more. Yeah. But when it comes to what I know about fighting is there are weight classes and divisions.
Yeah.
So it's like that's what determines that is like you don't have the 300-pound guy fight the 110-pound featherweight. It's like, you can make all the creative arguments you want to. It's like, well, he could, because it was always like Bruce Lee versus Muhammad Ali. Like, who would win? Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
All he was hit him once.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you say that? What if Bruce Lee did a spin kick? Muhammad Ali would just wrap up. It's not like he's going to stand with his arms at his side. He's like, he's not going to, all he has to do is hit him once. It's like a battleship. Just got to hit him once. Excuse me.
And Vin Diesel isn't a small guy.
Amazing. But... It's really wonderful. I'm hot. I'm cold.
Yeah, Vin Diesel isn't a small guy, but still just... Yeah, Vin Diesel isn't a small guy, but still just Dwayne Johnson's a big.
Oh yeah, loud, deep, scary voice would probably
the catharsis.
No, that's just me. He's not a complete cheater.
Yeah,
because if you just hit his head in with a pipe wrench, it's like I won. But, you know,
I mean, Hobbs grabbed the pipe wrench first, so fair game.
Yeah, they were in full rage.
But they didn't milk it for a while. They make it seem like he decapitated him, and then they just reveal it's off to the side. It's like, oh,
yeah, because the whole team was like, everyone on both sides was like record scratch. Like they're like, you think you're gonna pan out and see something from a horror movie? It's like, whoa, Fast Five got dark.
But yeah, everyone else on the team is being held at gunpoints. There's no like way for them out of here. They get arrested. We cut to Hobbs' team is heading back to the airport or whatever when they get, they get clear and present danger ambush style with RPGs and small arms fire in a favela.
Favorite ambush scene in any movie.
The team gets stopped and they return fire. Yeah, again, this like Hobbs took off his vest, so he doesn't have it here, but he's like the one person on the team that survives.
Yeah. Well, everyone else goes from being a super slick operative to I'm going to stand in the open and exchange gunfire with people from who are in cover. It's like, well, why with people from who are in cover? It's like, well, wow. Even I know you don't do that, and I'm just some fat guy. So,
feet by an explosion from an RPG, which he probably would have been dead, but whatever.
Yeah, it's fun when you see those, like when they do the special effects when the guys get thrown even lightly. Yeah. And you realize, it's through the air 5 feet. He's hitting the ground probably at 900 pounds worth of force.
Yeah.
Whose skeleton's not designed to take that? No human being skeleton's designed to take that.
I think the crazy ones, they do there's like these clothesline kind of like physics they do where they'll just like tie a static line to somebody's back and just have them run full force until they just get yanked. Yeah. It's like crazy. It's like,
but they have a whole suit that they're wearing.
Yeah.
Because that jerk is like distributed throughout their body, because otherwise it just break their neck.
Yeah. But like
oh, that's
see it happen, it's like, it's like, oh, that's
like I could do that. Thrown through the air like that. It's like, no, you actually can't. And if you did, you'd break your neck.
So we see like we see there's like the one car that got hit by the RPG. A guy's like kind of crawling out. He's still alive, but then you just see grenades drop down. You see one of the guy get shot up, and he's dead. And so now Hobbs' team is all dead. You see Ray's guys are moving in to kill Hobbs, but then Dom, Vincent, and Brian like return fire because like Elena let them go, and so they kill all the favela guys magically, and then grab Hobbs and get out of there. So now Hobbs is like tangentially with the team, but it's like because they saved him. So it's like, all right, I owe you one, and that's exactly it. One. So.
Yeah, they kind of have a get together movement after this, and Hobbs is at the end. He's like, I'm in.
Yeah.
I think a better line would be, because he is a smart ass and he doesn't like the Vin Diesel character. I don't know how he feels about Vin Diesel, but the character, he should have been like, well, I guess I'm family too now. That would have been a good F you, but they wouldn't have that kind of writing.
Yeah.
But it would have been better if he said that, I thought.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's get a peek under a curtain with the dialogue. It gets revealed that Vincent has a gunshot in his side, and Vincent starts talking about his son, and it's like, yeah, you should meet him. And we just cut to Vincent's dead, laying on a picnic table, and they cover him
Yeah,
up.
does anyone like, well, hey, weirdos, can we get some like medical attention here for this? No, just hold his hand and just ease him into the next life.
We're not paying any more lines for this guy.
Yeah, we got this
again,
guy for one day. We
yeah.
got to get it all done.
But this was a guy from the original crew in The Fast and the Furious, so there is kind of it is a more serious moment, I guess. If you invest in the franchise, but I mean, in terms of franchise, fourth movie, but for this character, second movie, so it's like it's all up to you how much investment that's worth. So. Dom gives his respects. He's already covered, but then he has like another blanket to cover him. So.
Yeah, second blanket. Must be cold.
Dom wants to keep it in the plan, but everyone thinks that's crazy. It's like, well, we got to get out of here. But he's like, yeah, you're free to choose, so it's up to you. Then Hobbs is the first one that says he's in on the heist now, so this kind of like motivates everybody. It's like, well, shit, if the cops gonna rob the place, we might as well join in. So that being the end of Act 2. Act 3, it's finally heist time. The police station has extra guards and firepower. Like we got like the guards all holding like FALs and stuff out there. And then, so yeah, we had all like, the planning phase, but then like what they do is just Hobbs drives his armored truck into the parking garage while they're taking fire. There's two police, now they have two new Chargers that are suddenly introduced that we see have some kind of like special rigging on the back of it, some kind of like roll cages or whatever.
Yeah, very Road Warrior-esque. It's like these Chargers have extra abilities.
Yeah.
Like transmissions won't be ripped out of the back of them when suddenly 15 tons is locked.
And so then Hobbs just rams his truck through the wall to the evidence room because at least they have blueprints, so they know they can do this. And then Brian and Dom hook up the cables to the vault, and there's some souped up Chargers, and they just drag the safe out of the building as they like race side by side to add more power to pull the safe out, which is it's just like oh, like this is like, oh shit, this is what they're doing, this is crazy, but it's awesome. And so
I enjoyed this because as soon as I saw this again, my mind was just like, okay, I'm going with it. There was a whole subtext of thinking like, well, I know how to lift and rig. I know I've done stuff with cranes and hoists and heavy machinery before. I know what this would take, and I know this wouldn't work. But I'm going with this because this is just this is fun.
But I like that there's like a spin up that like they have to drag it out of the out of its moorings or whatever. But then even then they have to get it going, like they have to get momentum for this thing to move, and there's always like kind of like that attention to detail, and then beyond that it's just like, let's just fling this thing around as much as possible.
Yeah, they don't make it move like a styrofoam block. They do. No. They whoever's choreographed this, they gave it mass and a sense of weight. It's like this thing weighs a lot. I was expecting for more cable car decapitations than actually happened.
Yeah, I think you get one, but it's pretty,
But those would be under a massive amount of stress, and there would be just a scythe flying through the air. It didn't break, but that's fine.
But yeah, and a lot of this it was practical, so that's what's nice about it. I mean, there's stuff like it's CGI assisted, but like a lot of this is practical, which is even crazy.
No, I mean, I like it. I mean, I think it's cool. The stunt work in it is like well done, well choreographed. This was well put together because I was like, wait, how are they going to take corners? That thing is just whipsaw backwards and take everything out on either the right or left side. And it's like, oh, it did. It's like they're making allowances for that. It's like, okay, all right. This thing's going to totally destroy everything like that because it's momentum forward and they're making a right or a left. So but, all right.
They took they use like some physics to their advantage, and then like they forgot some, but it's enough to like you're just in like, all right, I want to see what happens with this.
Yeah. No, I mean the reality is any imperfection in that asphalt they hit with this thing, it's going to shock through those cars. The reality of that is like if you hit if one part of the road is like this and one part is like this, and you're coming this way, you're in that car, it's going to just rip the axle right out from the back of that car. But it doesn't matter because they have those special frames, you see.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they didn't tell us what they did to these chargers, so they could have done anything. They're magical chargers.
I mean, NASA needs this shit. This stuff should be Mars.
So yeah, as they're pulling out of the building, like the safe just ping pongs at every turn they do with the safe, because like you said, it just keeps going. It kind of just rolls in a direction, and they can just kind of recollect the momentum and keep going. They're getting chased by the cops, and they have to like maneuver around the traffic and cops, and the safe just like as they're coordinating both cars, like have to drive together. It's like, we need equal power. This isn't gonna work. The crew with the stolen cop cars like run interference and like on the police, and like they knock out all the pursuers. There's also a big
police, by the way, are lunatics.
Yeah.
But they do say every corrupt cop in Rio is going to be after us.
Yeah.
So it's this is absolution for every sin we're about to commit. Corrupt cops are chasing us. But yeah, these cops we're going to fire shotguns and pistols right out of cars in a city. Just boom, boom. We're just firing right at you. It's like maybe they don't have good liability laws in Brazil. I don't know, but maybe there's no torture there.
And they're just filling up 8 lanes of traffic with cop cars and guns.
No one's driving around. By the way, this was mostly filmed in Georgia, which is interesting.
Oh, okay. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, this is Georgia. This is Atlanta standing in for Rio.
Okay.
Probably the Walking Dead guys were waiting next door, like, we got to film our thing now. So.
There's a big cool moment where like they like magically nobody gets hurt, but they just like roll the safe vault through like the front end of a bank.
Yeah. Everyone gets out of the way.
Yeah.
And they're getting radio intercept guidance from Mina. She's like, "Did you guys just take out a bank? You won't believe what I did." Oh, turn left. No, okay, that won't work. Okay, right.
We did just take out a bank. It works on multiple levels.
Yeah. We're robbing
a bank with a bank.
We're Robin Hood now.
So the crew of the stolen cop cars like run interference on all these police, and so they say, you got 10 seconds, which they kind of like hide a moment here, which they'll like flash back to, but that's fine. They race the vault onto this bridge, which I don't know if this is a famous bridge. This almost just reminds me of like the bridge from True Lies.
Yes, it's kind of that style of.
Yeah.
It probably is a real thing in Brazil.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, by the way, I picked up right away when they drove by that garbage truck.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that was in the scene for a reason.
Yeah.
And then later it's like, okay. So that didn't, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So it means, it doesn't mean I'm Sherlock Holmes, but it means I'm like somewhat observant. It's like, why would that be there? Because no one else is out driving anywhere at this time except those guys. So.
Yeah, and you have the specific of the garbage truck honks at them. It's like, what's that about?
Yeah.
So yeah, they race the vault onto the bridge. Dom cuts Brian loose from the vault and like lets him get away because they're like, it's been the plan all along. It's like, really, like, because the audience, like, we don't know any of this plan. So.
It's wheels within wheels in the Furious universe.
And then what's ultimately revealed, it's like, why is this a hassle at all? But it's fine. You're not gonna, it's too cool of an action scene to worry about the plotting of it. So.
Hey, if this works out, you're never gonna question my logic again. It's like, all right, see what happens.
Then Dom plays chicken with his car in the vault on the back of it versus the cops running straight at him, which he basically just like swerves out of the way, and then the vault just takes him out behind him. So, This is where we get like one of the cards just gets decapitated by the wire because
Yeah.
that should have been more used as like that wire's almost more dangerous than the safe, but we kind of just get that one moment. But I mean, it
Well, if they were
decapitates the
doing
whole
this,
card.
if they were doing this practically, it's probably wildly dangerous. It's like, well, we can
Yeah.
get one of these, and because there's going to be some dude in that car like laying down, or however they do it. They probably have that car on rails, though. I
Yeah.
don't think there's a human in
Oh,
there.
they probably. I mean, a lot of that time you see stuff like that. Though that car was probably like not even op. There probably wasn't even an engine in that car. It was probably just a chassis that they have like hooked to a cable to it, and it was just pulled towards it at the same time.
Okay.
So that way you don't even have to worry about like because remote control is like almost like it's too unwieldy. Like what if something cuts out and now it's stuck steering in one direction? It's like, well, if you put it on a cable, you just run it right toward the shackle, then like exactly where it's going. At least that's how I've seen it in some places.
Yeah.
Yeah, also we like reveal that like Dom has some like special nitro boost system in his car, so that's how he's able to overcome the weight of the safe with just his one vehicle, and then something to be revealed later. So.
Yeah, nitrous oxide is like the inertial dampener of this. It's like this is how it works in Star Trek. It's the inertial dampener is nitrous oxide. You just run nitrous through a gasoline powered engine, and it like, no, we're moving again.
Yeah. Nitro is just magical in the Fast and Furious franchise, but I mean it's magical across all movies. So.
It's magical.
Yeah,
it's magically destructive to your engine.
Well, again, like you said, like every car in this vehicle is a one-use car. So.
Yeah, these are all throwaways. You use once and destroy. That's it.
Then Reyes has like a minigun deployed in some VW like next to him because now we reveal that Reyes is now also in on the chase. He's just in the back seat yelling at people. That's all he does.
Yeah, they're using like Volkswagen Touaregs.
Yeah.
Those are the bad guy cars in this movie are all Volkswagens.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting because I was looking up these cars. There's nothing special about them.
Yeah.
Like they don't have like the Brazilian like bi-turbo V8 models or something. They're just, but for some reason this one has but I remember the minigun coming out of the top of SUVs was a thing at the time this movie was made because everyone had one of those, and Jesse James made one out of a what are those called, the Suburban.
Yeah, well,
with,
yeah,
had a Dylan Mark 8 in the top of it or something.
Because wasn't that like design revealed as like one of the Obama like cars?
Yeah, the Secret Service actually had those.
Yeah.
But also the Army had one because when Bush landed after 9/11, they had a Humvee with one of those in it, and it was driving right in front of his limousine. And then they thought, hey, can we make that in something deployable that's like not obviously a military vehicle? It's like, do you have money? Yes, we can do
that. The vault gets stopped. It kind of like, I forget why Dom stops, and the safe just kind of rolls around, breaks through the bridge, and then rolls to a stop, and then Dom like jumps out of the car before it's like yanked away from him.
Yeah,
it didn't make sense at the time, but like it ends up working out in his favor. So whatever. And then his charger gets flung at Reyes, and so now he's like stopped or dead, or you don't know yet. But then Reyes is like the main henchman gets out, holds up Dom, and like he's about to shoot Dom, and then Brian comes back and shoots him. So it's like
that Charger with a loud V8 engine that you never hear.
Yeah, just snuck up on
He must have like killed the engine, just rolled in.
Then Hobbs shows up. Reyes is crawling out of his car, and he says, "Help me!" And then Hobbs just walks by, executes him without even looking at him. It's just like, that's for my team. It's like, yeah. So yeah, it's Hobbs is like distributing justice, but also is like not really in a way. It's like, is he a good guy? It's like, no, not really. He's more efficient, but he's like, there's no reason to take this guy in and like let's put him through a judicial system. And yeah,
in Brazil, that guy would just So no, we're just gonna fire a 44 Magnum at point blank range into asphalt and hope it doesn't back through.
um, and then so Hobbs like gives Hobbs like, yeah, I am who I am, so I still got to chase you, but I'm gonna give you 24 hours to get away, and then I'm gonna come for you. But he says like the vault stays with me, and so they're like, all right. And then Brian and Dom drive away, and then Hobbs like gets suspicious, and he looks in the vault and he sees that there's no money in there, and so then we have a flashback to the vault being swapped, which they like garbage truck, which makes sense. But then the other vault is like on the front of the garbage truck, which that didn't make sense to me. But it's like, oh well.
That's one of those garbage trucks that loads has the forks on the front.
Oh, okay, okay.
So yeah.
Oh yeah, that makes sense now. Okay. So yeah, he looks in the vault and he sees that there's no money in it. So he's like, oh, he's been tricked as well, and so he just laughs it off. You know, this is all just like illegal money, anyways. So it's like, what's that line? It's like, whose money are we stealing anyway, or how's that work? You remember? Or it's like something about stealing criminal money, and it's like basically like free money. It's everybody's money or something like that.
Yeah, there's some logic to that. Yeah.
Then we cut to Tej opens up the vault with his like the copy that he has of Reyes' hand, and then a bunch of money falls out as he opens up the vault, which makes sense because that thing got spun around like a washing machine. So
yeah, I'm surprised all the bills aren't loose.
Yeah. And then we cut to Vincent's wife gets home and there's like a bag full of money and a note there, which like, man, in that neighborhood, you're just like put a death sentence on that woman. So,
yeah, I mean, it's like, who's she gonna call? It's like, hey, could you help me move 500 pounds of money? Like, yeah, sure. I'll bring a shovel.
Then we cut to Monaco. We got Lee and Santos here, and they're gambling. One guy bets on black, the other guy bets on red, which is ridiculous. And then they just cut away, so you have to know that it probably was like double zeros and nobody won, but you don't know. So
yeah, they're putting flat bars on the table or something crazy like that.
Yeah, I mean they bet all $11 million. I think so.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
We cut to Roman pulls up in an expensive car and meets with. Do you know what this car? He talks about it's like it's the only one in North America, and he got it from like a Saudi prince or something like that. Is there mention of what this car is?
Yeah, it's a
like Pagani or something like that.
It's here towards the end. Oh wait, no, this is alphabetical. So anyway, go ahead, I'll find it.
He pulls up to Tej's new shop, and then Roman explains like how exclusive the car is, and then Roman gets jealous when he learns that Tej basically has the same car. It's like, well, now there's two in North America.
No, it's one of the ones I was talking about. It's a Koenigsegg special edition.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of those crazy, like they only make 10 of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, it was actually in this movie.
Yeah, Koenigsegg, they're great at making like really incredibly crazy light cars. That's like their specialty.
Yeah, it's like this car's fiberglass with a giant engine in it.
I think they have one car they just call the One because it's like a 1-to-1 like horsepower to weight ratio or something.
Oh
yeah. Then we cut to Giselle and Han are making out in a car, driving fast on the Autobahn in Berlin. So now they're a couple. Then we cut to Mia and Brian walking on the beach. Mia's more visibly pregnant now. And then Dom shows up in his new Charger. Because it's not, I'm pretty sure it's not the 70s Charger because it says like RT on it. So that's like a newer one.
Yeah.
He's with Elena. So it's like, oh, okay. And then Brian wants to race Dom once again. He's like, yeah, no cheating this time. And so then credits. And then inside the credits is like a CGI cars. And it's the race of Dom and Brian, presumably of the race that's happening. That's, happening in the credits in real life. But here it's in a credit sequence. The cars have reflection of footage from the other movies and this one. So it's kind of like, reminding you of like, where all this came from. Because this is like the first movie that's like merging the franchise all the different movies together.
Oh, okay.
Because yeah, Fast and Furious, it didn't. There's nothing from Too Fast, Too Furious in it. It's just kind of like we brought back stuff from the first movie, and then there's like basically nothing from Tokyo Drift in it, except for Han, I think. Yeah. And then we have a mid-credit sequence where Eva Mendes, she's like a DEA agent from Too Fast, Too Furious. She comes in with a picture of Letty in Berlin. So this is like, oh, Letty's alive and she's
Girlfriend's not dead, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I got out of it.
Because yeah, like I said, she got killed in Fast and Furious, and now she's alive, and like that's what Dom's been sad about this whole movie is that she's dead. And it's like now it's revealed that's alive, and it's the first ridiculous twist of somebody being dead now alive, and then will be repeated quite often, and almost like jokingly and ridiculously in the further we go in the franchise. So. But whatever. At some point, it's just like this is basically a live action anime at some point. So
yeah.
You haven't seen that stuff, so that wouldn't have been that's important to know. But that's kind of more for people, fans of the franchise, to get something out of it. It's like now you're looking forward to the next movie, which the next movie is also very good, crazy sequences. Like they have to chase a tank, like a super tank in that movie, like on a highway in Berlin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because now after this point, the movies start becoming Mission Impossible movies with like cars. There's some sequence where they like parachute cars. It's pretty cool. They parachute cars out of the back of a cargo plane, which they've done that in other movies, but here it was like, I don't know, just extra.
Yeah.
They put a car in space at one point. Like they put a Fiaro with a rocket on it into like suborbit. Dom jumps his Charger on an ice, like a river of ice where a submarine popped up through it, and he jumps his Charger off the submarine. So
wow. Okay.
Yeah, they work for the CIA at one point. So yeah, it's the franchise just keeps getting bigger and more ridiculous. But so yeah, if you wanted to keep going, there's still like fun movies. So, but yeah, I think this is the best of the franchise, and it's the one of the most like coolest action scenes ever in a movie.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Am I coming through at all?
Yeah, I can hear your audio. Your video's a little out, but I just had my OBS said they lost connection, so I was just making sure I wasn't losing connection altogether again. So.
Nope, still here.
Okay. Well, we're sending a probe into space containing the supercut of the scenes for the Imperfect collection. That is the Verhoeven Effect collection. Nathan, what scene from this movie are we shoving into space?
Yeah, this is a hard one because I haven't seen any of the prior movies or any of the supplement. I guess I would say with this movie, just show the first action sequence where Dom's being broke out of the prison bus, because that will be a sample of everything that's coming up after. It's going to progressively get more and more ridiculous as it goes on.
I think we just got to throw the bank vault scene in there. That's kind of
well, yeah. I guess if we're just randomly, yeah. I guess if it's just like out of the blue.
Yeah, I mean, it won't explain itself, but it is the best scene and most iconic thing from the movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so I guess you're right. Yeah, it was hard for me to think about that in this one because it's like there's so many things that happened.
Well, I mean, it's the reason I went ahead and like, yeah, we're gonna watch this because I know if Nathan likes nothing else, he'll at least appreciate the vault scene. So.
Yeah. Oh, the vault was crazy.
You can find us at Letterboxd at username VHE 1 out of 5 stars. Nathan, what are we giving Fast 5?
I'm giving it 4 because I was entertained.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like I said, it was exactly what I thought it would be. I had no expectations of it being anything else. I just can't give it a 5 because like I'm doing dialogue in my head throughout the movie. It's like, no, it'd be better to say that here. It'd be more poignant. but that's just because of my own weird personal taste, not necessarily because I'm a genius at dialogue writing. But it's just like, no, he should have said this and done that. Would have been, better for sarcasm. Keep all the action exactly the same, but
Yeah.
just be more deeply sarcastic and embittered.
Maybe you like Fast X then, because then there's so many. I don't know, it seems like an 80% that everyone's being a jokester in that movie, and like I find it off-putting, but I don't know. Maybe it's like, maybe you get the idea like, oh yeah, they're making fun of themselves, and I just thought it was like this seems out of place.
Yeah, well, there's a fine line there between being like meta and just being over the top.
Yeah.
I would like people to be actually more cynical about, yeah, let's go die for this,
Well, I remember like the action boys are always like analyzing the kind of like the what do you say it, like the pathology of Steven Seagal, or just how he does things.
Yeah,
How you could progressively see in like every movie went on, he just wants to be the coolest guy with no flaws whatsoever. And
yeah,
then so like he'll be in a movie where it's like he's supposed to be like the main hero, but then he'll see like a guy has like a better joke than him. He's like, no, I want jokes too. Like I'm the funny guy as well. It's like, no, you're not, Steven.
he wants to be the man of all seasons in his action universe.
And that's kind of felt like the problem with Fast X's is like everybody's trying to be like, no, I have jokes too, and it's like, no. And the only one that works is the Jason Momoa character, where it's like his character is crazy and interesting and fun, but it's almost like he seems out of place. So it's like I don't think he helps the movie, even though I think it's an interesting performance.
Yeah.
um. You can find us at verhoeveneffect.com. There we have listener support. We can support a monthly stipend, either 99 cents, 49, or 99. Cancel any time. You can rate our podcast. You can rate it whatever you want. You can, but remember the algorithm only listens to the highest ratings. Remember, you control the algorithm. The algorithm doesn't control you. So give us the highest rating, and we can we can subvert the algorithm altogether.
Don't let the metal steal your soul.
You can find us at Twitter at Verhoeven Effect. You can find us at Blue Sky Social at Verhoeven Effect, and you can find us at Facebook at Verhoeven Effect, and you find us on YouTube at American Greed Factory. You can watch both this and that show live and unedited. So for the Verhoeven Effect podcast, I'm Colin.
And I'm Nathan.
Goodbye, America.